we didn't see much reporting about that. So this is part of the backdrop. And Joe, your point, not enough people are stressing it. The Iranians have been at war with us for 41 years.
Yeah.
This is not new, and there's been this focus on imminent threat. They've always been an imminent threat. You don't have to read top secret intelligence to know that the Iranian attacks on civilian and American infrastructure has been increasing, since the summer. And so this guy, Soleimani, is the head of the most well-capitalized terrorist organization in the world called the Iranian Quds Force.
Right.
And this is what happens to leaders of terrorist organizations, right? And so why there's this debate, about whether taking this guy off the battlefield was a good thing, it's strange to me. And ultimately, it was the right decision. The president made the right decision. And what we have seen is that the Iranian response was fairly muted.
Yeah, no, that's true.
The Army War College did a study, and you're going to have to fact check me on this. I think it was the end of 18 or the beginning of 2019 that did a review of Iranian operations in Iraq post-2008. And they had found that when the Iranians, there was consequences to their actions in Iraq, they pulled back on their aggressive operations. When there weren't consequences, they continued it. And so what we saw, the killing of the head of the Quds Force, was a significant consequence. His replacement, I guarantee he was looking over his shoulder.
Yeah.
I doubt his replacement ever thinks about leaving Tehran anymore. That's
a big deal.
Generals.
Yeah. Let me just interject this because you went to a lot of different places, and I want to ask you about some of it. First of all, you're right. It's been 41 years. They took over our embassy in Tehran. Obviously, they tried to do the same thing in Baghdad. It wasn't successful, but an American contractor died. Others were harmed, were maimed, were injured. And the president responds by taking out a guy that Ted Cruz says killed over 500 American soldiers. More than that, just through his terrorism, this guy Soleimani. Plus, we're not talking about in the Western media that Soleimani was not killed in Tehran. He was killed in Baghdad. He was in Iraq. And well, the simple question is, what the hell was he doing in Iraq?
I'll tell you what he wasn't doing. He wasn't transiting Iraq to go to Barbados for vacation.
That's right. Exactly.
He was there. He was there to plot with his proxies to increase attacks on U.S. forces,
right,
our allies, and our interests in the region. Period. Full stop. And to think that there's some question of that. Now, this leads into a much broader conversation about authorized use of military force and the war powers and all that. It's real simple. Even Jay Johnson, President Obama's head of Department of Homeland Security, made it very clear. He said this was a legitimate target in a legitimate area of operations in order to protect and defend American lives.
Right. And by the way,
not restrict any president.
If we would have attacked him in Tehran, now maybe there's a question, did we just start a war? This was a retaliation,
sure,
a reaction, a response to a horrible attack and an uprising. And by the way, you mentioned also the protesters in the street of Iran. Nobody in the legacy media over here is reporting that 1,600, I'm hearing the number 1,600 young people were killed in the streets of Iran because they were protesting and using what we would see as our First Amendment rights. They don't have that there. So the 1,600 die. We kill a really bad terrorist general guy, and suddenly we're the bad guys. Rose McGowan, an actress here, begging Iran not to kill us and apologizing for what the president did. Colin Kaepernick saying we're going after brown and black people to advance American imperialism. Well, it's nuts, man. It's nutsy cuckoo.
Look, it is, and what's wild to me is so that report about these protesters. This happened in November. This happened in November. It's a couple of days before our Thanksgiving.
Right.
And you've seen almost a protest almost every week for the last couple of months, and Iranians trying to stand up, and we have to make it clear that our beef, our quarrel is not with is with the Iranian government, not the Iranian people. We should be doing everything we can for the Iranian people to express their freedoms. We should be supportive of Persian culture, right? This is with the Iranian government, and again, a lot of the Western press, they gave more coverage to Soleimani's funeral than they did to the people that were protesting and those 1,600 people that were killed unarmed protesting a decision by the government, right? And so it's wild how there, and that's why I keep trying to articulate that the Iranians are not the victim, and there are those that try to victim. They are a culprit. And look, I've been critical of our Western allies when it comes to Iran. They're still trying to cling to the JCPOA. This is what was called the Iran deal. But even they came out and said Iran's the problem. Iran needs to be the one. If anybody wants to de-escalate, it's the Iranians.
Yeah.
And I say it's simple. If you want to talk, let's do it. But you got to do a couple of simple things. Stop killing Americans. Stop killing our allies. Stop lying about your nuclear weapons. Stop murdering your own people for peaceful protesting, and stop trying to influence the governments of Iraq, Yemen, Lebanon, and Afghanistan for your sick foreign policy. Just do those things.
Well,
right?
it might be a good place to start to stop chanting "Death to America" or "Death to fill in the blank country we don't like today." It's Representative Will Hurd, District 23, right, Will?
That's correct.
Okay, District 23, Republican, the great state of Texas. What I don't understand is why we signed this JCPOA. We gave them $1.8 billion in cash money that they said we owed them. So we said, okay, we'll give it to you. And then unfroze $150 billion in assets, money that you know, as a former CIA officer, you know they're using that money to advance terrorism and to advance the move against the United States and against Western planet Earth. That's really what they're doing, right?
100%. And here is the narrative my friends on the other side of the aisle like to paint, that ever since we pulled out of the JCPOA, the Iran deal, that the Iranians have escalated their activities. No, this was going on when they were debating and talking about signing the JCPOA.
Right.
I was in a briefing with senior folks from the Obama's intelligence organization, and they confirmed that at that moment that we were having this debate about the JCPOA, that the Iranian government was supporting terrorist organizations that were attacking Americans. Like the Obama administration knew that, and that was going on. So to try to paint this picture that this activity has escalated, right? And ultimately, when it comes to foreign policy and some of these decisions, you're trying to figure out how do you change someone's behavior, right? And my Democratic colleagues will say that this does not change the Iranian behavior. Yes, it has. Yeah. The reason the Iranians are increasing attack is they're trying to prevent us from taking these steps and what this administration calls maximum pressure, because they know there's a point where they're going to fully, not be able to respond. Why did the Iranians come to the table to negotiate the JCPOA in the first place? It's because international sanctions were being so tough. It finally brought them to the table.
Right.
But thinking about their nuclear program alone is too myopic. They have traditional missile technology, which they displayed last night, their support to terrorism, their asymmetrical warfare in other countries. And so dealing on their nuclear program, and it wasn't even going to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon. It was only going to delay them for 10 years. That's like the first chapter in the book.
Right.
It's not the whole damn book. And so acting as if the JCPOA was this panacea and that is what made Iran a normal member of the world community is just wrong. And it's not correct.
It's Representative Will Hurd. Will, I've only got about a minute left, but I'd be remiss to not ask you, why aren't you running for re-election? Have you gotten enough of the swamp and you've got other stuff on your mind, or what's going on with that?
Look, I have other interests. I don't think you're supposed to be in these jobs forever.
Agreed.
And I've always said to do this job well, you do it 6, 7, 8 years. I think 6 years. I want to continue to elevate issues like technology and national security, do that in the media, do that in the private sector, do that in academia. And then I'm staying involved politically and helping candidates across the country so that we get candidates that can be competitive, and take that Republican brand and that conservative ideology to all corners of America. And so that's what I plan on doing. Everybody's saying I'm retiring. I'm 42. I'm just getting started.
You better not be retiring that young, because I'm way past you and I'm still working. It is Representative Will Hurd, District 23 Republican, the great state of Texas. Will, great insight into what's happening over there. Thanks a lot for the knowledge. Let's talk again soon. I always appreciate him taking the time. He's a guy who really, really knows that region, really, really knows the job that we're trying to do in that region. Your thoughts, 1-800-501-7080, joepags.com. Stay right here.
Message and data rates may apply.
Earning your degree from one of the top business schools in the country might sound impossible to fit into your workload. But what if there were a business degree that advanced your career skills and gave you access to world-renowned faculty, leaders, and mentors all on your schedule? One that opened doors to some of the most influential CEOs, tech companies, law firms, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. And what if you could earn that degree in as little as 16 months, 100% online? Find out more. Text OFFER to 79645. Start on the path to earning your MBA or Business Analytics Master's degree online from the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University today. Learn more about the graduate programs from the top-ranked W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University, offered 100% online. Text OFFER to 79645. That's OFFER to 79645.
you taking the time. Thanks. It is the weekend with Joe Pags. 1-800-501-7080, joepags.com. Glad to have you along for the ride. Really good stuff. We'll have Mark Lauder after the bottom of the hour. He is the Director of Strategic Communications for Trump 2020. We'll talk about the campaign trail, Iran, impeachment, the economy, and much more. So make sure you stick around for that. In the meantime, let me get to the phone lines. Line 2 is going to be, is it Client or Clint? What's your name?
Clint.
Clint, what's going on in Florida? Hi.
Oh, it's nice. I'm going to make a jump. The last two callers, other than the political gentleman, kind of laid out what I was thinking, but they didn't make the jump. I think that Iran expected Trump, from all their reports, he's going to hit us back. You can't hit him without hitting. Okay?
Right.
And they went ahead and took down that liner thinking he was going to launch something. And then they could blame it on him and hide the black box forever, and then the Western media would pick it up and go with that against Trump.
Well, they did. That's exactly what they did, but they couldn't hold on to the information. They now admitted it.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying they took it down purposely, thinking that there was going to be cruise missiles coming at them.
No, I'm with you, but again, I don't know how you mistake a cruise missile for a commercial airliner.
Well, no, they would say that it was one of our missiles.
Oh, well, okay. No, I got you. Well, we'd have no ability to shoot a commercial airliner out of the sky over Iran. I mean, if we wanted to scramble jets, we could. But
I agree with you, but the Western media will run with that story. They'll run with that.
You're right, and they did. They actually tried to. They're still trying to blame Trump. I appreciate you. Now, I get where you're coming from. You know, I don't know that Iran said, let's blame this on Trump. I think somebody just really screwed up and thought it was some sort of return attack. It's very simple to take a breath and take an extra second, and anybody, even an untrained eye, can see the difference between a missile and a plane. But they're right. If they are manipulating the Western media is doing exactly what Iran does, or what Iran wants. They're allowing themselves to blame Trump for anything and everything, and Iran just sits back, and any enemy that we have sits back and just enjoys it. Go to Art in Indiana. Art, about a minute or so. What's happening?
Hi. Yes, I have a point to make about our defense system.
Okay.
You know, Iran shot down that drone with a missile, right?
Yes.
And we knew that missile was coming. And we also had early warning systems to know that the missiles were coming to the base. But none of them were shot down by U.S. anti-missile systems. And I'm wondering, we have the Patriot, but they went to this new exotic laser defense system that cost a fortune to turn on. And I don't know why we don't have these defenses displayed, because that would project power.
Well, we should, and it's a great question. Why didn't we shoot down these missiles? Thanks for the call. It's a great question. I mean, we were shooting down missiles with the Patriot missile, shooting down Scuds with the Patriot missile system back in the early part of 2000s. What are we talking about here? Actually, I think we might actually have been shooting them down back in the early 1990s in Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield. So why didn't we stop these missiles from coming in? I don't know. Were we not ready for retaliation? We had to be. We probably knew that they were on the way. So what's the story? I'm not an expert enough to know, but I certainly will ask questions all week to find out. We come back, it's going to be Mark Lauder from the campaign trail. Stay right here.
This is The Weekend with Joe Pags.
Keeps coming. You know what to do.
Hey, I'm gonna just rip this Band-Aid off. We need to break up. You're not good for me. I'm always sweaty and uncomfortable around you, and I'm not getting any benefits from this relationship. You're just a basic memory foam mattress. I deserve better. And before you ask, yes, there is someone else. I've been seeing the purple mattress online for a while now. Don't blame yourself. How can you compete with a bed that totally supports me, hugs my pressure points, and sleeps so effortlessly cool? Not to mention the 100-night trial and free shipping. Now that's a bed with benefits. It'll make me feel better than you ever could.
Break up with your old mattress and get with Purple today. Take advantage of Purple's Snorin' 20 sale and get free sheets and a premium sleep mask when you buy any Purple mattress. That's up to a $158 value. Claim your free premium Purple gifts today by texting PILLOW to 84888. That's keyword PILLOW to 84888. Data rates may apply.
Great radio stations across the land, joepags.com, all the social media there. The live video feed is there. The other videos of the previous shows, their podcasts through their sponsors, the Joe Pags merch store. Go check all that out right now, joepags.com. Glad to have you here in the weekend with Joe Pags. Also, the Blaze Radio Network carries the program. We appreciate them, too. Got with Mark Lotter. He is the former press secretary for Vice President Mike Pence. He's also a former assistant to the President of the United States. He's now the Strategic Communications Director of Trump 2020. And on the campaign trail, we're seeing incredible excitement. We're seeing all sorts of great stuff, but also we're hearing about Iran and impeachment, but the economy is a big deal, too, right now. Mark, I appreciate you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Joe.
Hey, listen, really glad to talk to you. So much going on. I want to start with the news of today, which is jobs numbers came out strong as can be. Dow's at 29,000. You got more women working than men. First time maybe in history that we've seen that. And things are churning right along. That's got to be nice news to wake up to.
Absolutely. And it's even more important when you remember back in 2016, the Obama administration projected that our economy would add 2 million jobs by the end of 2019. We added 2.1 million just last year,
right. Nearly
7.5 million since the president has been elected. You got more jobs than you do unemployed people, more women in the workforce than ever before. It's just winning for the American people.
It really is, and minorities are working more than ever. You've got people buying cars that didn't think they could, buying houses for the first time. You've got people coming off of entitlement, which is a very good thing. But, Mark, that's scary for the left. If people come off of entitlements and actually self-sufficient, they don't owe the left anything, so they can't guarantee they're going to get their vote.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's why you see them in complete denial about the economy, complete denial about the success that's being seen in our country, and why you now have a self-proclaimed socialist who is leading their race right now for the nomination for president, and it's just, why would you want to turn back from all of this great news that keeps going on and not just go back a little bit, but go all the way to socialism?
Mark, what is their argument? It's Mark Lotter, Director of Strategic Communications, Trump 2020, because they're going to talk about the economy coming up in a few days in their debate. What is their argument? What can they say? I'm so sick and tired of low taxes. I'm sick and tired of more money in my paycheck. I'm sick and tired of actually having a job where I couldn't find one under Obama. What can they actually call to action for the American voter and say, here's why Trump is no good and you've got to take us for the economy?
Well, they're going to do what they always do. They're going to say that the poor aren't benefiting as much as the rich. And when you look at the numbers, that's absolutely not true. Because when you look at paycheck growth, wage growth here recently, paychecks and wages are going up faster for those at the lowest end of the income ladder than those at the top. These are the kinds of things that the president was elected to do, and he's getting it done. I mean, you and I both know it, Joe. When we have more jobs available than we do unemployed people, that means companies are going to have to pay you more to get you to come on board with them, or have to pay you more to keep you where you're at.
Yep.
That means the American worker is the one who's winning.
And Mark, I got to be honest with you, and I've thought about this a lot. I've been working since I was 12. I'm now 53. I've never worked for a poor person, so I'm not really sure why my boss having more money to give to me is a problem.
Well, you're absolutely right. And to be honest with you, this is what this economy is all about. It was the tax cuts and things that have gotten the regulations off of the backs of government businesses. Yeah. And so they are creating jobs. They're bringing trillions of dollars they had parked overseas back into the United States. You can see it in construction. You can see it in wages and jobs. And that's what we should want. But that doesn't give the Democrats anything, because they need you beholden to them. And so that's why they make these false promises of socialized medicine that doesn't cost the middle class anymore. Well, that's a lie. Just like it was that you could keep your doctor if you wanted to.
Yeah, well, that entire thing was a lie because of the stupid American voter. Of course, Gruber admitted that later. It's Mark Lotter, Director of Strategic Communications, Trump 2020. The Keep America Great tour continues. Toledo, Ohio, an interesting place to go. He lost Toledo, Ohio in 2016 by, I think, 14 points in that area, but he won the state of Ohio by 7. So why go there? And by the way, the turnout was massive, as it's been anywhere that the president goes. But why go to Toledo? What was the thought process?
Well, I think in terms of we're going to compete for every part of every state, and Toledo is very important for Ohio, and it is the epitome of what you would call the industrial heartland.
Right.
It's blue collar, and one of the biggest messages that we're telling folks in those areas is that don't believe what the leaders of the labor unions are telling you, because they're lying.
Yeah.
The rank and file support this president. The leaders do what they always do. They just are Democrats.
Yeah.
But the rank and file, the people who actually work for a living, they support this president. He went to the Heartland last night. You saw it. I had friends and family there that just said it was like a rock concert.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I talked to WSPD's Scott Sands, that's our affiliate there in Toledo, and he was live there as well. He said the energy was unbelievable. And also he talked about the region. He said jobs are coming back, that industry is coming back. Blue-collar workers are starting to pay attention more. And Mark, basically people do vote by their pocketbook. It's not like you and me where it's kind of partisan and what's conservative and what's liberal. And they don't really think about that. They think, how am I today? What's the state of my family? Are we better off than we were before?
You're absolutely right. And that's why when I travel around the country giving speeches on behalf of this campaign, the president, I have people coming up to me all the time, whether they're labor union leaders, they're Black Americans, they're Hispanic and Latino Americans, and they're telling me, don't believe the polls, don't believe what the national leadership is telling you. We support this president because we see our communities, people who look like us, people who work hard like we do, succeeding under this president. And we may not be able to put on a red MAGA hat, but we're going to go in and pull the lever for Donald Trump in the ballot box this November.
It is Mark Lauder, Director of Strategic Communications, Trump 2020. Let's do a hard shift to the Middle East. Soleimani's dead. That's a good thing. He was a terrorist, top 10 terrorist list, killed over 500 American soldiers, was planning to kill even more when he was taken out. Having said that, the wacky left in this country, look, if I just fell out of a spaceship into the United States and I heard AOC or for God's sakes, Ilhan Omar, who says she's got PTSD over the attack on Soleimani, or if I saw Rose McGowan, an actress, say, I'm sorry, Iran, please don't kill us, and if I saw all these whack jobs all saying he was some sort of a foreign dignitary, like Bernie Sanders is...
True. Yes, I feel that should be still their responsibility. However, sometimes you don't even, or the last registered owner has passed away, and there's nobody that wants to be.
Yeah, but that sounds like those are extreme circumstances. I think generally in the norm, we ought to be able to find. I mean, I've got a couple of cars that I've sold in the last couple of years back to the dealers, and I know that the dealers have taken care of making sure that the registration took my name off of it and put somebody else's name on it when that was done. So I mean, it's not impossible, but if people know that nobody's enforcing it, they aren't going to bother with it.
Yes, and that's the same way when you mentioned about the police just calling a tow truck. That's always that additional cost, a tow truck and then the staging area. So, those are concerns that we had when we just had this discussion.
I got you. All right, well, there might be a little bit more on that conversation as well. In the meantime, the note to the governor's office is if we've got $1.3 million that has been deposited in that fund in the last year, let's go ahead and send that out in our direction and don't make us wait for it.
Yeah, we're actually working with Guam EPA already. Our executive director has had dialogue and had meetings with them, so it's just pending that transfer.
Right. Okay. Well, good luck on that one. Another interesting story that came up over the weekend news. I guess somebody found some ordnance, unexploded hand grenade, and didn't follow the rules and took it to the Aston Maina mayor's office.
Yeah, that happens a lot, Ray. Especially in that area. That's where the invasion started, right?
Yep. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah. So that happens a lot, and we've seen where people are clearing their properties, or even just for infrastructure development.
Yeah.
And they always have the unexploded ordnance that is found.
Well, there seems to be a whole lot more work that's being done around there and other places. It seems to me that Jenna over at Homeland Security is almost weekly sending out a notice about unexploded ordnance.
That's correct.
Yeah. So watch out for it. And the rule is if you identify something, if you think it might end up being something that might still have some volatility in it from the Second World War, identify it, leave it alone, back off, and call somebody, and we'll send over a whole bunch of. I like to think of them as kind of rock stars in the military community because they're allowed to wear short pants.
That's correct.
No, it's true. What are you laughing about? Mana's laughing. What is that?
You're not one of them, so don't wear your short pants.
I just want to know where they buy them. You know, they get the short pants. They get
the uniform shop.
Yeah, and I want to say they have their own shirts. It's like their own little 5K shirts that they make up for themselves because they're like super.
And
we're the unexploded ordnance guys.
I think their shorts are like flesh toned, so depending on your skin color.
Yeah, could be something like that. James Howard asking if we did the Cheers thing already. Yeah, unfortunately, we already did the Cheers thing. I might end up doing it again before we're all said and done. 6:44 in the morning, and I'm trying. Was one last thing I want to ask you from the perspective of Miss Mayor here and knowing a thing or two. It doesn't look like Blas is going to resign his position as much as he's going to appoint members to the Municipal Planning Council for Zotnia. Has that been done?
Our executive director is the one handling anything for Jotnia right now, and so I know that.
Oh, you don't. So you don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Ask Angel. Wake up, Angel. Tell him I'm looking for him.
Yeah.
Well, because it's like that. Anyway, well, listen. I hope you had a good weekend. Anything big coming up in Dedito this weekend that residents need to know about?
Well, Michael did mention about the distribution of spritz bottles of spray.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the bug spray. Yeah.
And so this Wednesday will be the kickoff for those distributions here in Dedito. And Dedito is the first village. So we've identified areas that are, substandard homes. And so, of course, Dedito being the first village that had, the village with the most identified areas for dengue, when the positive dengue, we're going to be distributing in the Swamp Road and Nevermind Road areas this Wednesday with the dengue team. So,
Swamp Road and Nevermind Road.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so,
and then, there's other.
Are you just going to be? You guys are just walking around there and doing it, or what?
We have identified areas already. And there are some other areas that have been identified as substandard, mostly our Chamorro-Lantos areas. So what we've done is once we hit those areas and the leftovers, we will take to those other areas.
All right.
And if residents feel that they need it for their particular area, they can give our offices a call.
Okay, gotcha. Now, you guys are doing this first. When does this go out to the other villages?
Wednesday would be Dedito, Thursday, Gigo.
Hi, Eddie. I think we lost the mayor, but I got you. Try it again. Okay. So you said Tuesday is Dedito.
Wednesday is Dedito.
Thursday,
Dedito. Thursday, Gigo. Friday would be Barragata, Manilao, and MTM. And then next week, Monday would be Chalampago, Orda, and Jotnia. And then I believe Tuesday, there's a schedule out, Ray. But we'll be, letting know. And if residents are interested, call your mayor's offices. The mayors are doing an area scope, but that way they don't go house to house in houses that don't need it.
Right.
Areas where there's substandard homes and so we have teams from Public Health, the Homeless Coalition, and the mayor's office.
Information available at the Mayor's Council website.
That's correct.
Okay. Gotcha,
Okay.
Ms. Mayor. I'll talk to you pretty soon. You have a fantastic Monday. Hope yours is off to a better start than mine.
Yes.
All right.
You.
I'll see you later. 6:47 in the morning, 888-825-5888-TALK. Always nice to get things started with the.
I don't know what you're talking about. My Monday is off to a rousing start.
Did they score again?
21-0.
21-0?
So far, it looks like Kansas City doesn't want to go to a Super Bowl. They let us drive down the field on the first drive.
Mm-hmm.
Then they fumbled a punt, and then we blocked a punt. And so, it's not looking good for Kansas City. But again, maybe they just, want to make it.
So I want to know if you're going to be able to do this dance here. This is my buddy Jack, and Jack clearly is a huge fan of the San Francisco 49ers. Mm-hmm. And this is Jack if you're watching on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, whatever. This is Jack doing his happy dance. There you go. I wish I had music that I could play on the background. San Francisco 49ers won. Yes. I'm happy. He's happy like he just found out he's going to Festpac. Yeah, I'm going to Festpac. You're going to Festpac. You're going to Festpac. You're going to Fest. There's maybe there ought to be something else besides Festpac in terms of priorities around here. I've been saying that for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's always amusing to me because they keep getting together and they keep having meetings and talking about like it's a real thing, and everybody on Guam is behind the spend of up around $350,000 to send a delegation of artists and dancers and things like that off to Hawaii for Festpac out there. Don't get me wrong, I love the arts, love the dancers, love the music, love the culture. But if you're going to be going to that, I'm along with a whole bunch of the other curmudgeons around here and say, pay your own way. Pay it your own self. If you know you need $350,000, then start doing some fundraisers. But that's taxpayer money, and we absolutely need that. We need that dough right now. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. What was it? What was the story, Monty? You did the story with the chief of police.
200 more police officers by the end of the year?
200 more police officers. And I tell you why we need 200 more police officers, because we need the deterrence out there on the roadways. Jimmy Moylan's going to be on before too much longer. Jimmy's going to be talking about the town hall that he wants to have tonight to talk about public safety. And as I said, they probably need to have a public safety town hall in the village of Tumon, where we keep all the hotels and all the tourists that we invite to Guam to have a safe, fun time on Guam. The video that you're watching on Facebook Live, and I apologize, it's not a great video. Somebody's holding the camera wrong. But they're looking at surveillance footage of a guy in a red SUV that got dropped off on the side of it is a massage place down in Tumon. I want to say it's across from Icon. And I'll bounce this to you, Mon, if you wanted to take a look at it on your phone.
I think that's like I think it's called Grace Massage.
I think so. So it's in between there and I want to say the Fiesta. You get the Fiesta tennis courts up here, and then the hotel, and so the guy is kind of watching the roadway. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, and I'll try to narrate it as best as I can, he's casing a couple of tourists, and you can see the tourists making their way into this frame here at the bottom of the screen, and you'll watch the guy run out and chase after these tourists, and then what you see after that is almost the most appalling thing that I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anything like this, where the guy actually goes after the tourists, chases them onto the street, and then tackles them. Oh my goodness, you're right. Oh my goodness. It's the only way that you can say that. Grabs a purse and runs like hell to wherever it is that the getaway car is waiting for him. It's not broad daylight. This is strong arm robbery down in Tumon, and it probably happens more often than we think. Thankfully, the massage facility that we're talking about has surveillance cameras for their parking lot, front of the street, and inside their facility, and they're pointing out there's the car driving away. And I don't know if there was enough of a description of that car for police to effect some kind of arrest, but it would have been nice if there were more police officers down there, if we had other surveillance capabilities in the area.
I don't know if those cameras are still working, but some years ago when I was in TV broadcast, we did a story, and there are a number of police surveillance cameras that are situated throughout Tumon, the hotel room. I don't know if they're still working.
Or who's watching them.
Or who's, I think it's the desk.
Actual officers, do we have anybody to make sure?
But there's always somebody assigned to the desk, and I would assume that they would be watching the surveillance footage.
But it's just absolutely
But I don't know
chilling
if those cameras are still working.
Where you see the guy chasing after and tackling these tourists in the middle of the street in Tumon. I don't know what time it was or any of the other details. I can see it. I could make it out if I had the capabilities, but to see the time and the date stamps on the video. But it's just absolutely frightening.
And you would assume that they're vulnerable, especially when they just arrive. They arrive early in the morning. Their check-in time's not until later on in the day.
That happens.
So they walk around with their luggage a lot of times, and you've seen them when we do our exercise in the morning.
So there's random crime number one this morning, and then there's a story that you were talking about earlier of a guy that minding his own business over at Sonny's, and a dude pulls up on a motorcycle and strong arms him. And this what happened to this town? What's going on here? The price of methamphetamine is going down, and my guess is that means there's more people that are using methamphetamine. And even as the price goes down, it's still money that they've got to find somewhere, and it's easy to come up on vulnerable people that aren't paying attention over in the grocery store parking lot or walking down the street in Tumon. So I guess the word to the wise here, if you're paying any attention to it at all, is guys, we're kind of on our own here. We just don't have enough police officers out there to be able to provide the level of protection that we need from a growing number of thugs that are more worried about getting their next hit of crystal methamphetamine than anything else.
So here, let me help you all out with this, since I actually grew up in a large town that
Right.
had this kind of problem for a while. Number one, always, always, always be aware of your surroundings. When you get out of your car, look around you. Make sure you know what's around. And if you feel unsafe, get back in your car. Stay there. The other thing, don't leave your car unlocked with the engine running. Had somebody with their car stolen in front of a store down south the other day, and that's why. Because
that one was strange. I actually had the magistrate report on that and was going to read it on Friday, but we got busy with all kinds of other stuff where he's referring to, the voices in his head told him there was an opportunity. Apparently, this guy actually does have some mental health issues and is a known commodity among the officials here on Guam. But you're right. Yeah, don't leave the door unlocked and the car running.
That's right. And one thing you've got to do, I know living on the island, it's laid back and slow and comfy and all that, but right now, friends, it's not safe. Take off your rose-colored glasses. Pay attention to what's going on around you. And
Absolutely.
If you see something, call the police. Say something if you see something. You got to do it. That's the only way we're going to curb this thing until we can get more police on the streets, get more court-appointed prosecutors that actually know how to prosecute someone, and more judges who actually know how to assess criminals.
Well, they may be taking that out of the hands of the judges. This weekend, I'm sorry, not this weekend, this Wednesday is what I meant to say. Therese Terlahi has got a public hearing on a number of bills. And I urge you, people of Guam, I mean, if you are shocked by some of the kind of crimes that we've got, Marilu is watching the program. Marilu sent me yesterday images. It was a Facebook post from somebody else. This is the new police, by the way. Facebook is the new police.
It is, in a lot of
Facebook
ways.
and WhatsApp is the new police department. People see what's going on. They post it up on Facebook. Hopefully it goes wide from there. But Marilu sent me a picture of a car, sedan, just driving around Denado. 3 people in it. And what these guys do is they'll pull up to somebody's house and go as far into the yard as they can possibly get without getting busted. People might be inside Netflixing and chilled, got the air conditioner on, don't hear what's going on outside, and before you know it, there goes the generator, there goes the bush cutter, there goes the water blaster, there goes everything. These guys go out and they sell them to somebody else. So that nice bush cutter that you bought for $499, they're going to go fence that someplace for $100 and go get themselves some more crystal methamphetamine. That's what's going to be happening. And that's just the way it is now. So anyway, the story is these guys went into somebody's yard. The owner of the house saw them coming and hollered at them, and they went and ran away. And went someplace else and got out of the car. And chances are pretty good the next stop they went to was the place that they were able to do it. So we're getting to a point where it's going to be fences all over the place, and there's going to be security cameras taking videos just like the kind that we played for you, and that's going to end up on Facebook, and that's going to be the investigative
Well, the Post
branch.
even had a survey last week. Have you installed a security camera or
I've
any
installed
sort of
the second set of security cameras in my life on the house, and it is bristling. I had some people over yesterday, and they were asking me about my security system. Guy says, "Where'd you put them?" I said, "I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you where the cameras are. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are not obvious, because the guys know generally anymore that everybody is putting security cameras out, so they're taking steps to be able to cover their face and cover their tracks. Doesn't help when you're the genius. What was the name of that genius that had his name on the car? Last week, Tovas. That one in particular did not help. You get that brain dead from being stupid on ice, and that's the story. At any rate, so vital that everybody take some time to go to the public hearing. Starts at 1:00 on Wednesday. Bill 96. Which would, relative to the minimum sentences of first, second, and third and fourth degree criminal sexual conduct. That's the other problem that we've got in this town. There are just too many guys running around that can't keep their hands to themselves.
In the last newscast, there was a story of this 21-year-old guy who molested a 12-year-old girl and possibly her sister.
Right.
and released from the court. And the order from the court was don't harass anybody, don't molest anybody.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't even know who the judge is in that case.
Maybe Nick does. But, we went through this last year, and everybody stood out on the side of the road, and we held banners that said enough. And all of the politicians around here sickened me, used it as a photo opportunity. They're the ones standing out there on the side of the road. They were holding up their hands saying enough. I'm like, no. You're not the transmitter of enough. You're the receiver of the enough. And apparently, Jim Moylan and Therese Terlaia are the only ones that paid any attention. Bill number 97, relative to the minimum and maximum sentences for first, second, and third degree robbery. There's 98-35, relative to penalties associated with crimes against tourists, just like the kind I played for you on the video just a second ago. There's a couple more. There's 125, which is with regard to sentencing and parole enhancement for individuals convicted of sexual conduct involving victims under 12. There's another one relative to penalties established for aggravated arson, negligent burning, and criminal mischief. And then Bill 160 relative to pretrial releases of those charged with crimes associated with criminal sexual conduct, robbery, kidnapping, and distribution or possession of controlled substances. So it looks like Therese is going after the judges that are far too lenient and who are accepting plea deals and ignoring what the regular sentencing guidelines are. So the community is taking that away from the judges.
Maybe
in the form of these bills.
we need to even start looking at the 3-strike law.
Well, there was at least one guy that asked me last week, is it possible that some of these judges might be on the take? I mean, it's not unheard of for drug cartels to be able to funnel money, vast sums of money, to members of the bench to make sure things go their way. I mean, it's the same stuff you see on TV and the movies. Is it possible it's happening? We'll talk about it. It's 7. We're KUSG. Hagutnya.
President Trump directed at Iranian leaders in both Farsi and English. Last night, the president tweeting directly to those demonstrators, also in Farsi and English, telling them he admired their courage. Thousands chanting death to the dictator, death to liars, after learning Iran's military was responsible for downing that Ukrainian jetliner last week near the Tehran airport, killing all 176 on board the plane. A heavy police presence in Tehran for a second night. This comment President Trump made in an exclusive interview with Fox's Laura Ingraham about the threat posed by Iranian General Qasem Soleimani before he was killed in a U.S. drone strike, being called into question.
I believe it would have been 4 embassies, but Baghdad certainly would have been the lead. But I think it would have been 4 embassies, could have been military bases, could have been a lot of other things too. But it was imminent, and then all of a sudden, he was gone.
Defense Secretary Mark Esper was asked about that statement and the actual threat Soleimani posed on CBS's Face the Nation today.
I didn't see one with regard to 4 embassies. What I'm saying is I share the president's view that probably my expectation was they were going to go after our embassies. The embassies are the most prominent display of American presence in a country.
Fox's Gernal Scott reporting.
Esper said some details were shared with top congressional leaders known as the Gang of 8. Utah Republican Mike Lee said on CBS Face the Nation,
drive-by notification to 8 people is not the same as notification to Congress.
Lee was one of the Republicans critical of a briefing on the drone strike that killed an Iranian general, calling it insulting.
6 rockets fired into Iraq's Balad Air Base today. 4 Iraqis wounded, no Americans. America's listening to Fox.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad. Woo! Go Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Woo! Give me a ham and jack slider.
Ham and jack slider.
Give me an Italian spice slider.
Italian spice slider.
What's that spell?
It doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Go Sliders!
Subway, make it what you want.
It's hard to believe, but Security Title is 20 years old. Reaching this milestone is a clear testament to the hard work of our employees, who are as passionate about our work as we are about our community. We are most grateful for the realtors, lenders, attorneys, investors, and the buyers and sellers we serve. They are the reason our doors have been open for 20 years. Security Title looks back with gratitude for the past 20 years and looks forward with optimism to the next 20. Thank you, Guam.
At least 11 deaths blamed on weather. 3 people killed by a tornado in northern Louisiana.
In Oklahoma, a man drowned after he was swept away by floodwaters trying to get out of his stalled truck. And hundreds of thousands of people are without power from Texas to Ohio, with a state of emergency in Arkansas. Another tornado in Alabama killed 3 people. Emergency management officials said it was embedded in a long line of intense thunderstorms. Homes were flattened, debris was strewn across the neighborhood. Sleet and frozen rain made for dangerous driving conditions in Missouri, Kansas, and Texas, where ice led to a crash that claimed the lives of first responders working on another crash scene in Lubbock.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich, another one of those first responders still in critical condition. Icy runways delaying flights this weekend from Dallas to Detroit. Up to a foot of snow expected from Michigan to Maine. Around Detroit, record rainfall. You can see photos of people kayaking in Dearborn, Michigan. Small but dangerous, a volcano near Manila in the Philippines, spewing a massive cloud of ash that drifted across that capital city today. Flights were canceled, schools and government offices closed, thousands evacuated, with the Taal volcano likely to erupt. It sits right in the middle of a lake and could cause a tsunami. At least 27 dead, including 2 firefighters in those out-of-control bushfires in Australia. The repercussions could be long-lasting. The world's food supply possibly affected. A deadly and disappointing weekend in Baltimore. 12 people shot, 5 fatally in one of 8 separate incidents. 3 young women were shot in a car. One of them died. Baltimore City Council president, now a candidate for mayor, called the violence heartbreaking. Also heartbreaking, the Ravens lost. I'm Jay Metzler. This is Fox News.
Here at APL, our core values give the company its heart and soul. Whether it's connecting your business with our global network through our newly enhanced service or investing our efforts into giving back to the community, APL is committed to serving you. We humbly honor the opportunity to find innovative solutions for you and your business. To learn more about our enhanced service, call 588-4651 or visit www.apl.com/Guam for more details.
What's for breakfast at KFC under $3.95, you ask? What's for breakfast at KFC that's different than the other guys, you ask? KFC's chicken wrap, sausage wrap, the Colonel's chicken congee, chicken fried steak, sausage biscuit and gravy, and biscuit sandwiches made with KFC's original fluffy biscuits. All for under $3.95 and all only at KFC. Plus, with waffles and the Colonel's chicken fried rice, we've got something for everyone.
So visit KFC for breakfast today. It's finger-licking good.
GRMC's Neuroscience and Neurology Department treats a wide spectrum of disorders associated with the nervous system, spine, and brain. Some of the more common disorders include seizures, epilepsy, dementia, sleep disorders, migraine, and stroke, which is one of the leading causes of death on Guam. GRMC's neuroscience team is equipped with the latest technology and the finest neurological doctors. To make an appointment, contact GRMC Specialty Clinics at 645-5500.
7 o'clock news is brought to you by Horizon Properties.
It's 7:06. I'm Mona Silva Tyron. Here are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. The mayors will be meeting with the governor, and they may get to wash their hands of at least some of the Liberation festivities. The Mayor's Council and mayors of all the villages have for years taken charge of the Liberation Parade and the Carnival. Mayor's Council President and Dededo Mayor Melissa Savara says that they'll be meeting with the governor and will determine who they hand off the duty to. Savara says that the mayors have indicated that they do want to maintain the memorials that take place in their respective villages. Well, a letter expressing frustration with the 2018 Farm Bill and the cockfighting ban on Guam is seeking signatures from residents, and it's been circulated amongst island mayors. The origin of the letter, though, is unclear. Mangmo-Totomaiti Mayor Rudy Paco said that the letter was dropped off to his office, but he didn't know by whom. He brought the letter to the Mayor's Council meeting on Wednesday to see if other mayors had received it. A man appeared to be circulating the same letter after the meeting, but the Guam Daily Post wasn't able to speak to him to confirm his identity or the letter. The letter is an appeal to Douglas Domenech, the Assistant Secretary of Insular and International Affairs at the U.S. Department of Interior. It's dated January 1, 2020, and outlines concerns with the 2018 Farm Bill, which banned cockfighting in the territories as of December 20th last year. Its writer states that they feel neglected, quote, especially since our opinion was never requested before the U.S. federal government decided to impede on a pastime that our ancestors have passed down to us, end quote. Guam delegate Mike Nicholas is also copied in that letter, but it's not confirmed whether he's seen it. Well, 3 people were taken to the hospital after they were involved in a 3-car collision that occurred on Route 15 in Manilao near Andes South. Guam Fire Department spokesman Kevin Riley says units responded to the crash that involved a box truck, a pickup truck, and an SUV. Riley says that the operator of the overturned box truck had to be extricated but sustained only moderate injuries. The operator of the truck had critical injuries and was semi-conscious at the scene and en route to the hospital. The 3rd patient, the operator of the SUV, was transported to Naval Hospital with only minor injuries. Well, it's been classified as a drowning, but the investigation will continue. This after a man and a woman were pulled from one of the lakes at the Guam International Country Club in Dededo on Friday, hours after they had registered as guests at the golf course. An autopsy will be conducted to determine the cause of death. We'll have more news after this.
Rent, lease. What does Horizon do for you? Here's a clue. Advertising, marketing, screening, inspecting, instructing, leasing and signing, collecting and complying, inquiring and assessing, coordinating, repairing, renewing, enforcing, evicting, moving, cleaning, rekeying, communicating. Do it yourself and you'll find it taxing. We work hard to keep the vacancies low, so at the end of the month, you collect the dough. Proven and trusted. Horizon Properties. We do it all. 777-7792.
Chili's 2 for $25 is back. Start with an appetizer to share. Then choose 2 entrees like our mouth-watering Old Timer with cheeseburger or the Cajun chicken pasta, grilled chicken with penne and Alfredo sauce, and chili spices. Feeling extra? Upgrade to a personal fajita or our famous half-rack ribs. Bring a friend or a date to Chili's and get 2 entrees for $25. Located on the 2nd floor of Tumong Sands Plaza. Chili's. More life happens here.
Incoming and outgoing flights at the Philippine Ninoy Aquino International Airport have been suspended due to the volcanic ash from the eruption of the tall volcano. Philippine Airlines has confirmed that PR-110 from Manila to Guam was canceled, as was PR-111 from Guam to Manila. Passengers are asked to check with their respective airlines. So far, we've seen that only Philippine Air has canceled their flights out of Guam. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology announced a raised threat level as the volcano showed unrest. The volcano erupted yesterday afternoon, sending plumes rising more than a kilometer. Metro Manila residents reported ashfall that affected the visibility of motorists as well. Thousands of residents are being asked to evacuate the area surrounding the volcano. Schools and government operations in the surrounding areas have also been canceled. And the Navy this week will train on both land and water. The training will be in areas of Dandan, Inarajan, starting at 11 this morning. Residents in surrounding areas shouldn't be alarmed if they see or hear increased activity associated with the training. The Navy will also conduct open ocean exercises later this afternoon near Agate Bay and near Outer Apra Harbor tomorrow. Vessels are requested to remain alert for military personnel parachuting and swimming in Outer Apra Harbor. Later this week, they'll be training in Radio Barragata. That training will use blanks and practice hand grenades, so residents in that area can expect some noise and activity associated with that. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
No, actually, they're using technology that doesn't actually make any noise. So what you're going to hear is the actual combatants saying things like pew 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 for gunshots, and for the hand grenade practice they go boom boom. You got it? So listen for those sounds in and around those areas today. 7:12 in the morning.
We'll know if it's bad if we hear from Shelley.
Partly cloudy skies, that's right, with isolated light showers. East winds up to about 20 miles an hour, decreasing after sunset. Highs around 86 degrees, overnight lows of about 76 degrees. You know, we really never did get too much by way of grill marks weather this weekend. Started looking good, and then it started raining. Started looking good, and then it started raining. Daytime highs today, as I said, about 86 degrees. Watch for the sunset at 6:11 this morning. Sunrise was at 6:47. We'll see see the same thing happening about happening about the same time tomorrow. Sorry, Jack Larimer's online saying, no, that's the Air Force. Everybody else is going to be using actual rounds or what do they call them? Silenced bullets, things like that. But the Air Force is the one that goes, pew, pew, pew.
Another
boom, boom.
Another thing you'll hear at the exercise is, you can't get back up. I already shot you.
You're dead. Hey, my man's dead. Man down, man down. Anyway, so that's what we got in terms of weather. I have not yet refreshed the weather radar. I'll do that right now while Michael Knight is talking about some general weather conditions. So not too crazy, like I said, a Grill Marks weekend that was taking place, but there were a couple of moments if you were lucky enough to get there.
Yeah, we had a few, and that was really a lingering trade wind trough that was attached to 90W, which has since pulled well away to the west, but we just couldn't get rid of that trough. And we actually see some of those remnants of that trough still hanging over us right now with these isolated showers coming on through. Looks like we got a little bit of an increase in activity coming in from the northeast, so we'll see how that goes. But again, these are all still very isolated showers. The shower activity is not very heavy in them, so it'll roll through fairly quickly. Looking at us, we're in the clear spot between blobbage. We got some blobbage over in the east
What do you want me to do?
West of us, so that's 90W way over there.
Yeah, I moved everything over so we could see what was happening in the Philippines.
Yeah, I was confused.
Some of the ash.
Plus, you were talking in my ear. That messes me up.
Oh, sorry about that. No, I was talking to Jerry Roberts. Tell him to get the adapter from you.
Okay. We got nothing to worry about here, man. Everything's looking good. Nothing downstream from us. We're hoping we can get a reinforce of the surge coming in the next couple of days. We were expecting that. It looks like that may be happening. So we'll just see how it goes. For now, we're just looking at basically dry trade wind weather right on through the rest of the week.
Okay. All right. Well, it's in there somewhere. I was looking for Guam, and I can't find it all of a sudden. 7:14 in the morning. That's news and weather together, brought to you by us over here on The Point.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans, carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
It's the Ray Gibson Show, being brought to you by a bunch of our friends, including the guys over at Nanbo Insurance. Get up to $350 towards your next power bill. The number is 477-9754 for details on getting your hybrid to have Nanbo help pay the power bill. Portions of the program also brought to you by the team over at Mescla. What do they have at Mescla? I don't know about you, but you ever get the hungries and you go, I could eat a horse? Well, they don't have horses over at Mescla. Next best thing, how about this? A 2-pound surf and turf burrito. Tasty strips, and they're using Angus beef in this. Succulent shrimp rolled into it. In fact, it's Angus shrimp that they're using in this as well. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the topic, but it's another high-end brand that they've got over at
Angus
Mescla.
shrimp? Wait a second.
All right, maybe that's not Angus shrimp, but whatever, it's good. It's the good stuff.
I hear his brother plays for AC/DC.
They roll it into flour tortilla with red rice. There's guac, cilantro, lime, sour cream sauce, salsa fresca, and cheese. Exactly the way you'd make it if you knew how to make them, right? This is the way they work it with the guys over at $17.95, 2 pounds worth of it. Try it today in Agutya and in Tumon at the Grand Plaza Hotel. We suggest reservations, so call at 969-2652, 888-8255. Portions of the program also brought to you by American President Lines, global presence with a local home, and everybody over at GRMC, the first choice for your specialty care needs.
The question is, how much of the stuff that you hear on the Ray Gibson Show is totally made up? I want to know.
None of it.
None of it?
It's all true.
It's all true?
So
Angus shrimp is a deal.
Interpreted as true. I mean, what is the truth anymore anyway? What is the truth anymore anyway? We got a whole generation of kids can't figure out what bathroom to go into because you know what I mean. So
that was Obama's issue. It has nothing to do with us here.
Truth is likes on a Facebook page.
Yeah, truth. Yes, you're absolutely right. There you go. As I said, that's the new police department is Facebook because people aren't even bothering to call the police anymore. They see some weird guys scrambling around the neighborhood looking for bush cutters. Yeah, they take pictures of the dudes driving around and stick it on the cars, right? So you got that. Is it time to take a look at what happened in the market?
Rediscover talk radio here. Your FM News Talk Superstation. This is The Point.
James Howard reporting that we've got a 30-second delay going on between here and there. Yeah, I'll see what I can work on. Might be a question of now that that thing is jumping, I might need to restart something on my side. A weird kind of Monday morning. At any rate, there's a lot going on that we've got to punch through, and let me take a look at where we ended up on the markets on their Friday. We'd had a spectacular Thursday, you'll recall. It was, our Friday, their Thursday was spectacular. All of the numbers and all the markets were up, and it's just one of those things. It can't last forever because eventually the market's going to start looking for opportunities to sell off. S&P 500 saw a bunch of that, 3265, only off by 10 points. The NASDAQ off by about 25 to close at 9178. Dow Jones Industrial Average, not necessarily, well, I guess by percentage, maybe one of the bigger losers here. 28,823 is where they ended up, off by about 133 points. The FTSE closed 10 points lower at 7587. Nikkei up by 110 points. The Hang Seng Index up by 77. They closed at 28,638. And then we got the DAX, which is off by about 11.75 points. Now, I do have some great news with what's happening in oil as things have begun to settle down in the Middle East to the degree that they could ever really settle down in the Middle East.
Absolutely.
All right, so here's what we got for you. West Texas crude, that's the American benchmark, traded Friday at $59.54.
And now?
Off by 4 bits, that's 50 cents to close at $59.04. So
going in the right direction.
Yeah, moving in the right direction. You want to talk about moving in the right direction? How about Tapas? Remember last week Tapas topped out.
77.78.
It was $77.37 is where the high water mark for last week.
But it's no longer that high.
No, it fell down. It fell to $72.08. Now I got to take a look at my old notebook because what I want to find out is $72.08. What was the price of gasoline on Guam when it was trading as low as $72?
$3.27.
I think it was lower than that. It might have been just $1.50, $1.25 or something like that. Yeah, maybe we'll get the guys at the.
So what we're talking about today is the people at Shell and the people at Mobil
and the people at 76.
76 will be out there today immediately because you said so, lowering those prices.
If the trend continues, I don't see why they would not.
It's crashed.
It's crashed.
One word.
72.
Profit.
They don't need to make any. No, that's not where they make their money. They make money on gasoline. They make
Collusion.
money on Slim Jims and cigarettes and cold beers. That's where they make their dough.
They're making a ton off of us on gasoline.
Talk to the guys and they'll tell you their sob stories on gas. The good news, like I said, for us, $72.08. So we'll see what happens over at the pumps. If you got gasoline in your car right now, just take it along very, very slowly. We'll see.
But they
never
tell
know.
you, it's so confusing to understand these situations.
It's like buying airplane seats. There's a whole thing, and I got to find it how they're different ways that they price airplane seats. You got a big airplane, and they're going to charge you more because it's a big airplane. And when they've got a lot of seats available, they're still expensive. When there's no seats available, they skyrocket in price.
There was a guy at Continental years ago who was in charge of that, and it took about an hour one time trying to explain it to me. I was more confused when he got done.
Yeah.
He said there's so many factors that go into this, and it's all geared to maximize profit.
Well, yeah, because they still got to pay their people. They got to pay their people. They got to be. The airplanes aren't free. I mean, they're very, very expensive. The maintenance and the upkeep on the airplanes and spare parts and things like that are not free. You'd be surprised at how often you might get an airplane number that is not in service because it's mandatory that it's got to go back to Boeing or someplace and get maintained, and another airplane in the fleet has to take up for it. It is the strangest kind of calculus in the world. I've also had that lecture from the guys and you just sit there. It's one of those things where your brain is numb at the end of the explanation. Yeah. The only other thing that I think is as complicated as that is trying to figure out firefighter salaries and vacation. Have you ever tried to do that? Firefighter salary, vacation, and overtime. Any of the dollars and cents of working in the fire department, because 24 on, 24 off, 12 on, 12 off, all of those kinds of things, all of those go into a factor, and you can't write a spreadsheet that would help you understand it. So I think it's the same thing along those lines. 722, while I have an opportunity, congratulations congratulations to Anne-Marie Munoz, who won the Executive of the Year Awards that took place Saturday night over at the place. And a whole bunch of people went in, but there can only be one.
And
that was Anne-Marie.
The one.
And so one of the best-kept secrets on Guam, who was going to be winning that, up to and including, and this is a crazy thing, is the night of the Executive of the Year Awards, they actually hand out that month's edition of Guam Business Magazine, which has a portrait of the winner of the Executive of the Year Award. So you want to talk about being able to keep a tight lid on a well-kept secret up to the design of the cover, and then we send it to Hong Kong or someplace wherever they get it printed at, and then it's got to come back to Guam under some kind of a seal so that nobody is able to open the books and open up the boxes and see who it was. Good job, Maureen, and everybody over at Glimpses for putting that together, and congratulations to Anne-Marie. It's 7:23 in the morning. You got any other businessy stuff you want to talk about? That's fine. We're going to delve into a little bit of political gossip before too much longer, because there are a growing number of people in the Republican Party and among the leaders of the Republican Party that I think want Will Castro to stop referring to himself as the delegate nominee.
Did he do it again?
I think there was that whole hubbub about the Codell that came in from Saipan, and I called it right. The Codell did show up at the baseball stadium to watch.
There was a picture of them.
There was a picture of them there on the Candid News. I called it right. That's it.
Yeah.
All kinds of bells going off. All kinds of fires floating around up in the CNMI. And these guys come down to Guam to get away from the heat and to go watch a baseball game. Absolutely funny. Anyway, 7:24 in the morning. Jerry Roberts is in the studio. Must be time for today's Extra Point, being brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services, and pretty soon the people over at First Hawaiian Bank, where it all starts with yes.
Every team needs up-and-coming talent if they'll be able to keep pace with their market and maintain their success. Today, part 2 of our discussion on finding and developing new leaders. That's next on the Extra Point.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
An easily overlooked part of covering our home is what's inside of it. Over time, we buy things we don't want to lose, but don't update our contents coverage. The smart thing to do is get the answers and level up our insurance to make sure we're totally protected.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
On Friday, we gave 8 indicators of how to spot an upcoming leader on your team. Here we go. They're serious about their job. The focus is on getting the job done and done well. Because that's the case, they treat company time as precious. They're a self-starter, always taking the initiative, no loafing or clock watching. Coworkers see them as influential. They communicate clearly. They see the big picture and they want to be a part of it. This is a person who is hungry to learn. They're open to greater responsibility and opportunity. Now, when we identify this emerging talent, what should we do about it? Here's a few ideas. Number 1, invite them into leadership meetings to gain a sense of how decisions are made. Here is where they'll get a sense of the organizational strategy, how ideas are developed, what concerns are raised to alter plans, your key performance factors, and how everything relates to everything else and the bottom line. Number 2, give them some advanced training to help prepare them for the next level. 3, help them recruit a mentor to bring them along faster. And 4, assign them to participate in a project that will test their skills. Let's break those down. First, bringing them into the inner leadership circle. This can be a serious mindset changer. It takes them from being one of the crowd to one of the few, from the feeling they're on the outside to the inside. And they'll finally understand how things really work. They'll now be in a position to develop influence on organizational direction. Maybe not a lot of that at first, but it will grow over time. Additional training that their peers aren't getting tells them they have the attention of leaders who are interested in their growth. Picking up a good mentor is a big step and can greatly accelerate a career if the mentee is serious. The mentor should have the skills and perspective to add missing elements to the particular mentee. The questions that should be asked are, why is this person a great fit a mentoring fit for Mary, and could somebody else be better? Finally, assigning them to a project that will stretch their abilities, match them up with a good challenge, but not something that is so far beyond their talents that they have no chance to succeed. At the end of the project, sit with them and go over the details. What did they do well, and what needs improvement? Get their feedback too. Then raise the bar the next time around. One of the main jobs of a leader is to identify and grow new leaders. In about 20 minutes, when I get them uploaded, you can download Extra Points 485 and 486 if you think they'll help. That's the Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today. For 93.3, The Ray Gibson Show, Guahan Insurance Services, soon to be First Hawaiian Bank. That is the Extra Point. I'm Jerry Roberts.
I got you. And for all of those, if you need transcripts of that and others, you should be able to go to GuamTraining.com and the World Wide Web, and all of that information should be there for you to download and share with the rest of your staff. I'm sorry, it's not a regular work day unless we get the share gag in there. It just makes me happy. What can I say? And another reminder, I put this on the radio last week, and it just seems to me that I should probably do this every day at around this time when we got a lot of people listening to the broadcast and the radio and Facebook Live and things like that. Today is what are we, the 12th of 13th of January. So it is a month and a day away from the 14th of February, which is every calendar puts that down as Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day this year is going to be occurring on a Friday, and that means the restaurants in this town busy on Friday because it gets to be the end of the week. Nobody wants to cook, and so here's the deal. You are going to need to make reservations today for her favorite restaurant. I mean, if it's in a hotel, there's somebody at reservations 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Absolutely. So you can make that telephone call. Maybe it's in Manhattan or someplace that you want to have a nice Valentine's meal at. Forget about what it costs. Just get the reservation in as quick as you can.
Because if you don't,
I cannot necessarily speak to that other than my own personal track record of having 2 marriages and 2 divorces, and who knows how much of that might have been involved in there.
A simple Valentine's reservation could have changed
the whole
history.
complexion of
the whole thing.
I don't want you people to be concerned about that kind of thing. So fellas, guys that know me, get out there and do it. Now,
I don't like Valentine's night.
I didn't recall you being asked on this.
I like my Valentine's on a separate night because I want it to be special. I don't want to be lumped in with everybody else.
Oh, you want Mana's Valentine's
I want my
Day.
very own Valentine's.
Well, there's that
That's
all right.
That's all right.
So we do. We take it. We do our Valentine's on another night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not going to tell you when.
Because
I don't want you to invade my Valentine's.
There's
night.
the old standard. Frank Sinatra did it. Each day is Valentine's Day. Or ought to be.
Sing
so
it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it.
He said
Come on, my funny Valentine. Do it.
I'm not going to say it. The deal is, guys.
My funny Valentine.
That's Jerry Roberts.
Any day you want it to be.
So
every day should be Valentine's Day.
The day before. Couple of days before, because like I said, it's going to be Valentine's on Friday.
And you save $200.
Oh yeah,
too.
Wednesday send the flowers, Thursday send the flowers, but on Friday don't send the flowers on Friday because number one they're going to come in late because the guy's busy, bicycling around getting the flowers out there. I'm just saying, Friday the 14th of January is Valentine's, and make the accommodations now. And then when you are done, then you can do the Jack Larimer dance. This is Jack celebrating. There it is. This is not a boomerang. This is just him. He's dancing because the 49ers won. This is the face that he's going to make.
Some people are singers and some are dancers.
Yep.
Which
one is Jack?
He's a good singer. He's a really good singer.
7:30 in the morning. Time to jump into headlines. Brought to you by Auntie Loli Kamet from over at Diamond Remax Realty. She's just absolutely wild about helping out people on Guam. Take care of all of their real estate needs. You can call her 688-6743. Again, Auntie Loli is at 688-6743. Now with news from the Guam Daily Post. Here's Montecillo Tyrant.
Island mayors will meet with the governor to talk about plans for this year's Liberation festivities. They may be handing off those duties. The mayors have been in charge of planning the parade, the carnival, and the Queens. Mayor Melissa Savara says they would like to just oversee the memorials in their villages, but hope to hand off the rest of the festivities to someone else. Flights into and out of the Philippines' Ninoy Aquino International Airport have been suspended due to the eruption of the tall volcano. Philippine Airlines says check with your respective airlines to see if your flights have been canceled. And a public hearing will be held this week with Senator Therese Terlahi to address a bunch of bills that deal with penalties and sentences of criminals. The hearing will be at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. The first three bills set the minimum and maximum sentences for people convicted on criminal sexual conduct charges, robbery and crimes against tourists, and a bill that would address pretrial releases of people arrested on such charges to include kidnapping and require them to wear an electronic monitoring device if they are released. And those are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, you can pick up a copy of the paper, log on to the website at postguam.com.
I got you. 7:32 in the morning, and we're getting comments from folks watching on Facebook Live. Well, I can hear you, but you are out of sync a little bit. And so here's what I'm going to do. First of all, iConnect time is 7:32. Swing by iConnect and learn how much they can save you some money on mobile internet and push-to-talk plans. And the other thing is I'm going to try to resync the audio here and restart it. Now, it's either going to work or it's not going to work, or we're going to lose the audio completely. Let's see what happens now. What do you think?
Hardworking and passionate RE/MAX professional is committed to helping you make a difference in your life and to helping you achieve the American dream of home ownership. She also specializes in commercial leasing, land sales, local residential sales leasing, and military and corporate relocation. So for all your real estate needs, call Lolita Kamet from RE/MAX Diamond Realty at 688-6743. That's 688-6743.
Yeah, and why do you want to give people this rose? They're just going to die. Give them an actual plant, something they can stick in the front yard, like a ginger plant or, tea leaves or something like that.
Or cannabis. I don't have a plant.
Cannabis. Great.
I don't. If you want to get me a plant, there's one.
Speaking of plants, congratulations, Shelley Crisostomo. Her and Guahan Sustainable got together over at the Hyatt, had another one of these gizmos where they showed everybody, number one, how to make microgreens, and number two, what to do with them after you make them. I had the chefs out there actually putting together, plating some food with these microgreens. So good job there, Shelley. Looking at the traffic gizmo today, if you were up in Dededo, you're pretty much locked up there because there ain't nothing going to happen until you get off of Route 3 onto Marine Corps Drive. Things are busy up by the schools, also busy over by GRMC. Moving into the Waisangsong area, a little bit of a slowdown before you get to the intersection, but you're not going to be meeting a whole lot of traffic coming off of Waisangsong. Just doesn't seem to be a whole lot there right now. 8, 10, and 16. Can I just when are we going to be done with the construction on 8, 10, and 16? Never. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I passed by, it was Friday or something like that, and got stuck in a line of traffic, and I'm starting to bite through the rebar in the car until I realized the people in the oncoming lane from Route 8 all the way back over to where Carbolito Elementary is, that the new intersection, it was backed up from there all the way because everybody had to zipper into one lane and try to make it through that intersection because they were putting down some striping. And I'm just this is taking a long. This is like building the pyramids out there on 8, 10, and 16. And the ultimate sadness, at least for me, at the end of the day. The ultimate sadness is you are not getting any more or less cars through that intersection as we were before. I was kind of hoping after they got rid of all of the zaff on the road and the rippling of the I figured we'd be able to get a few more cars through the intersection, but it's all still about the same through there. So even though it's the second time we've gone through that vale of tears, and the worst part of it is anybody that lives in the MTM, Leds and Cañada area knows what happens is everybody will go and take the peekaboo back streets, the smaller roads, and you guys don't know how to drive down there.
Yeah, it's really fine. It's just
place.
When you're going at 45 miles an hour.
In the village, there's
in the
kids.
Village, it's kind of terrible.
Yeah, we know you're in a hurry and you're cocked up on the traffic, but still, take your time when you're going through the villages. And they've got speed dimples and speed humps, but nothing that really slows people. There's too much heavy traffic on those roads, too. Should restrict that.
That's
Light
right.
cars only.
The big trucks and stuff.
Looking at traffic out around the Triangle Park, and then you've got into Guam High and Navy Hospital. Traffic is looking kind of ugly through there, and then you get down to Big Navy and Sumai. Polaris Point, both directions, it's choking up right over there. Don't know if they've found some unexploded ordnance or it's just lousy Monday morning traffic, but expect some delays as you're making your way through there. Once you get down to Sumai down there, you can also expect some delays because it's trying to get onto Big Navy on a Monday morning. 7:36, that's plenty of traffic here on The Point.
Yikes, are those Christmas bills coming in already? Those high-interest credit cards at 16, 18, even 24%? Well, we have a New Year's solution for you. A Bank Pacific personal loan with rates as low as 4.65% to pay off those expensive credit cards. It's easy, it's fast, and it's as low as 4.65% APR.
Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal credit opportunity lender as low as 4.65%. Conditions apply.
How about that? Yeah. Restarted one of the gizmos on my computers, and it took care of that 30-second delay. Now it's apparently 60 seconds. Crap. Well, yeah, I wish I knew. I wish I knew what to tell you. It's one of those things that normally take me about 45 minutes to figure out. But I'll be here for 45 minutes, except I got to do the radio show. So we're gonna have to deal with the situation as it is, and accept our Monday morning apologies. It's technology, and when it works great. And when it doesn't, in the airline business, I've actually learned this. The guys over, what's the name of that fish that the Japanese make? That will, if you make it and you sashimi it right, it's really, really good, and everybody's crazy about eating it. But if you do it wrong, it'll kill you. What's the name of that?
Is that the puffer fish?
It's a puffer fish, but there's an actual name for it. So it seems, I want to say that for years, fugu.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? So for years, Northwest Airlines, and they don't exist anymore. They merged with Delta. But for years, we went to the Northwest place and saw their headquarters. And it's one of those things where, highly computerized, highly efficient system. They keep track all of the airplanes, all of the airports, all of the gates. It just and the weather and the way it worked was when everything worked perfectly. Then they could take off all hundreds of airplanes, 1,000 million passengers flying around the world, everything moving in an incredible choreographed dance. But if one airport all of a sudden an airport closed down, or you couldn't get couldn't do the pushback at the time that you wanted to, it was bedlam for everything else, for the whole rest of it, and that's why they named the system after that fish, because when it worked and it was wonderful. But when it didn't, it stacked things up for days.
The fugu.
That's it. That's the word. That's the word I'm looking
the fish
for.
More poisonous than cyanide, the Japanese delicacy, or blowfish. So poisonous.
You can get that here, right?
No.
Yes, there's
Well,
somebody
you
that
go to
does it
Rotary
here.
Sushi, and then they have the puffer fish that goes around, but I don't know if they actually serve it.
I think they actually serve it. Now, there was
I was scared.
one of the last times I was in Japan. I had the chance to try some of that stuff.
Did you?
Did I? Well, no, I didn't. Because look, it's the same reason why. And I got buddies that run the skydiving company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're always after me. Say, Ray, come on up. You got to try it. You got to do this one time in your life, bucket list, that kind of thing. And I'm going, no, because here's the thing: is there may be only one or two things that can go wrong. But they're all fatal. They just, the chute didn't open. How long do you have to pull the ripcord on your backup? And the answer is the rest of your life. Because if you don't, then you're going to go and hurtle down to the ground to your death. So it's like that. Bungee jumping. You will never, ever find me attached to the end of a bungee cord for exactly the same reason. Only one or two things can go wrong. But the fact of the matter is it'll probably kill you if you do it wrong. So, no, I'm not going to be doing that. I got a picture here. Kenny sending me a picture of what things look like at Navy Hospital and the traffic situation that guys are in.
Yeah, because it bottlenecks over there.
Yeah, and don't see a whole lot of traffic coming onwards towards where Kenny is.
You actually have a better chance of getting onto Naval Hospital if you come up from Snake Road. because you turn into that and you merge.
Yeah, but the traffic gizmo has traffic slow moving in that direction. So wherever Kenny is, he's on the other end of that. I'm wondering if there's an accident because it's slowed down in both directions, and traffic even coming out of Sinahanya towards from the Triangle Park in that direction is also moving rather slow here today. 7:41 in the morning. 888-825-888-TALK. While I'm thinking about it, there's a couple of other things that I wanted to show you. I got the Jack Larimer dance on there. And Keena McCausland earlier, pufferfish. Peter Santos says pufferfish in Chamorro is butetti. Do we know how to make it? Yeah, Shelley says blowfish. Fugu is the name of it. Oh, you know what? I can say hello to everybody on Facebook Live. I'm glad you're there. It's a little tricky this morning with the audio built-in delays, but I'll get around to working on it and I'll have it fixed by tomorrow. What are we missing here today? Just to pretend you're watching a kung fu movie. Charlie Hermosa's online, and then so is Rudy Magallanes, who says, Ray, I think why there are so many people committing crimes, it could be they know they might not get punished from the judges when they commit a crime. Oh, you're absolutely right. Where is the story? Is this today's? Yeah, Monday's Guam Daily Post. Driver charged. The guy's name is Ben Ferrer Jr., and he was charged with driving like a jerk, basically. A number of charges that have been leveled against this guy. Let me just get to the page where they tell the story about him. And there's apparently some lecturing going on when they finally caught the guy. Found out there was a 2-year-old and an 11-year-old unrestrained in the car while this guy is driving and looping in and out of traffic and basically DWK. And if you're wondering what that is, DWK is old Ray Gibson slang for driving while intoxicated, right? Just being a jerk out there. He should not have been in that vehicle. He apparently told the owner that he was going to borrow it for a couple of minutes and then never came back. Owner called the cops. Cops saw the guy on the road and, effected a chase. I don't think the cops knew that there were little kids in the car. So they pulled the guy over, and then there's the lecture. An arresting officer told Ferrer he could have killed somebody during the chase, and that Ferrer has been told repeatedly to get his life on track. Sort out your life, mate. How many times? How many times already, the officer asked. Ferrer's record dates back to a 2013 aggravated assault and robbery case. Since then, he's been arrested in cases involving theft, burglary, fraudulent use of credit cards, reckless driving, and criminal mischief. Why isn't this guy permanently behind bars? Who does he know that he keeps getting out? And so what we've got here clearly is a case of somebody that for 7 years has been gaming the system. For 7 years, the guy already knows the ins and outs of the criminal justice system. He knows. I guarantee. He's sitting there, and he's got his hands behind his back. And you see, if you look in the front page of the Guam Daily Post, you can actually see the guy getting lectured by the police officer. He's pointing his finger at the guy. How many more times? Sort out your life. Get it together. What's going on with you? Right? Is not the best-looking guy in the world. This guy gets his hair dyed from the same place that some of our off-islanders get their hair dyed at. I don't know. I'm just saying. The guy should be in jail. He clearly doesn't have the capacity to get his life together. But he keeps going before a judge, right? And the judge keeps saying, sort out your life. Go and sin no more. And he continues down his pathway. Is the be-all, end-all. And frankly, Rudy, when I see you writing that in Facebook Live this morning, I'm going, where you been? I've been saying that since we started doing this show. Since it became clear as you read the magistrate reports and you start doing the Google on these guys' names and you go, oh, he's been in trouble before. There's almost every crime that gets committed on Guam where if you talk to the guys at the police department, they'll tell you who it is. We know who it is. Yeah, that M.O., we've seen that 100 times before. It's so-and-so from Zutnia. And it's always the same so-and-sos from Zutnia, by the way, in a particular family. They know who these guys are, but they know that they're going to get before the judge, and the judge is going to go light on the wrist. That is why, and I'll read it to you again, I need you to attend a public hearing today. There's going to be a hearing over at the legislature, and there's several bills that Therese Terlai has got up there that are designed now. The idea is to put some teeth into our laws. We don't want these guys strong-arm robbing tourists down in Tumon. I already played that video. I might do it again of a guy gets dropped off by his friend. The guy goes, turns the car around, and lies in wait He lies in wait, waiting for a couple of vulnerable lady tourists to walk by him. And I'm trying to remember what animal does this. Who in the animal kingdom does this, where they lie in wait, and as soon as they see something that doesn't look like they're going to be able to put up much of a fight, they just pounce. And the guy chases after these women. Looks like two women at any rate. And they run in terror into the streets. The guy tackles them into the streets, pulls the purse, and runs away. And at least one of the tourists tried to give chase, but it gets into a kind of a scary, jungly-looking place down in Tumon that I know for a fact isn't very well lit. And the guy gets in the car. Him and his buddy take off and peel off in the other direction. Now, my guess is that the cops are going to look at that car and go, "Oh, I know who that is," and then arrest him. And then they're going to go to see the judge, and the judge is going to let him off. So, Therese Terlai, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bills. No, this is actually 6. Relative to minimum sentences for criminal sexual conduct, minimum and maximum sentences for robbery, relative to penalties associated with crimes against tourists, and I thought we were tough enough on that already, relative to parole enhancements for sexual conduct involving victims under 12 years of age, penalties established for aggravated arson, negligent burning, and criminal mischief. And then there's another one where they're going to be looking at pretrial releases and things like that, because this is another one, pretrial release. This is one of their favorite thing is they know that they're going to be out on pretrial release because the courts are busy. We don't have enough judges, and so they virtually no fear of spending any more than a couple of hours behind bars. But more needs to get done here. So we've got Bill 160-35, and are these hers or Jim's? Might be Jim's.
There's 3 of them are Jim's, 5 of them are Jim's, and then one of them is
Louise. Okay, yeah, Louise Munoz. All right, so we've got criminal sexual conduct, robbery, kidnapping, distribution, and possession of controlled substances, and mandated electronic devices for bail conditions of certain crimes. These guys have been paying attention. These legislators have been paying attention and hearing the cries in the community. I think the rest of them are brain dead. The rest of them are sitting around trying to figure out how to get themselves on the FestPac junket. Everybody else is concerned about crime in this town, rampant crime, and the kind of random crime that we've got. And at the end of it all, my friends, I believe that it is a couple of things. One of them is we've got a level of crazy in this town, and we don't have the facilities for folks with mental disabilities to be able to meet some of those challenges. That's A. And if we do, maybe we need more and stronger versions of it. And then the other one is crystal methamphetamine. I mean, we can talk all day about alcohol and the contributions that alcohol will make in the criminal justice system, but our big problem is crystal methamphetamine. And over the weekend, it's too bad we don't do weekend talk shows because I probably could have done 4 hours on the topic of the price of methamphetamine coming down as low as they say it has. Jim Moylan's got a public hearing tonight on public safety. Where are you going tonight, Senator?
Well, we had our public forum. You're saying it's tonight?
I know you had one Friday over at Mosa. Sorry, I couldn't make that.
Oh, yeah, okay. We did have one. Thanks. Yes, we're going to do a rain check with that.
I know it.
But we did have one in Mauricio. That was last week, which the turnout was terrific, and they were really engaged. They were on point. Let me see, the mayor was there as well, and he was discussing about some pretrial issues that he's upset about, and the crowd was really in tune with what's going on. So that's what I'm finding interesting. People are aware. People are speaking out, and they want action. And they said, we've had these hearings before. Where's the follow-up? What's going to happen? Or is this just a political ball game going on? And my duty is to listen, but my action is by introducing legislation. That's one of the 3 things, other than, and none of them includes a wedding or ribbon cutting, but one of the...
What about a resolution? You know what? I'm turning 58 this year. Can I get a resolution from the legislature congratulating me on my 58th birth?
There's just about everything out there has been given a resolution to include the most latest is world peace. So absolutely, Ray, I'm sure you can get one.
He's not kidding. He's not kidding. There's a group around here, and now the speaker has got a resolution congratulating them on 20 years or something like
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something? Is there another department of nose pickers in the government that we might be able to charge with that kind of thing? Because it just seems like there's a whole lot of bandwidth that gets taken up by having these resolutions created, and then the senators got to go make the presentation along with the other senators and trying to get tight. What's the name of that organization? Something Gokukai. And I'm sure they do a great. I'm sure they do a wonderful job with what they've got. But it just it's not something that requires the mental bandwidth of the Speaker of the Legislature.
Correct. Or let me see. There was that one movie, and then it was a beauty contest, and they says, what would you do if you became the world the leader, right, or the winner?
Yeah.
And she says, we want stiffer punishments for parole violators. And there was nothing but church. But once you say world peace, then the whole crowd goes wild.
Yay, world peace, yay! Yeah, I get it. It's an important thing, but we got to worry about the peace around here. And a note here, and I'll pass this along to Mon. I got word from Paula Monk. I was asking about what was going on with. We know what's going on with Philippine Airlines. United now, the Manila flights, UA 183, that's Guam to Manila, and 184 were canceled yesterday to the volcanic eruption. They're continuing to monitor the situation to protect affected customers with the first available flights. And as we get something like a schedule from Paula and United, we'll pass that along to you. So you got the deal tonight that's going to take place where at again?
There's not one tonight. Right?
Oh.
I'm not sure how that notice came out.
It's on the legislative calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Monday, January 13th, Community Forum on Public
Agate.
Safety in Agate.
In Agate. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm projecting the next one in the 28th. Yes, my apologies. Yes,
Okay.
It is in Agate.
Well,
Correct.
good thing I reminded you.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
otherwise we'd be sitting around Moses tonight and you going, hey, aren't you
Right.
supposed to be in Agate, bro?
Agate, right? There's so many. Maybe this is the fifth or the sixth one.
Yeah.
But we will continue. If the end of this month is in Tamuning, and then we just keep on moving on. And we are taking some action, and we just want to help the people. And let's see how far the legislation can get.
Well, and I'm surprised it made it this far. I mean, we've got the rules actually let out some of your paperwork here. We got 96, 97, 98. Then we've got 143 and 160, and all of them look to at least in my mind, taking a look at the parole authority that we have around here, and the authorities of the bench, because it's the thing I think that will irk the people are they like that. Everybody wants to see more cops in the village, right? And we know that's a problem. But we've got cops out there that are doing their job, that are arresting these guys, that are trying to put thugs behind bars, and then they go through the criminal justice system. It's gotten so bad, Jim. It's gotten so bad that people are now expressing to me to ask the question out loud: is it possible we've got judges on the take? Is it possible that there are judges that are in the pockets of these rich crystal methamphetamine dealers? I mean, it's straight out of the movies, but it's possible, isn't it?
It's possible, and throughout the nation that we've seen those things happen. Fortunately, that hasn't been a case here locally. But I know that probably the judges.
Well, but how do we know? Is my question. Isn't nobody is investigating? Everybody just assumes that it's gee, we're full up over at the Department of Corrections, or we've got some prosecutors that are just up to their butts and alligators and just want to clear off as many files as possible. So they're pleading everything out. But is it possible that there might be some kind of a conspiracy going on? The suggestion has been made, and I think maybe it ought to be a conversation that gets vetted.
Sure, we've seen that happen at Department of Corrections. Internal federal officers, high-ranking officers.
There were allegations made in the Blas case that there were people in the police department and the Marshal Service and the Department of Corrections that couldn't be trusted to uphold the law. So is it possible that it goes up even further than that?
Everything that is a chance, sure. And I know of no concrete evidence, but at the same time, sure, we have to watch out.
I got a cop buddy asking if maybe you could make a special invitation to some of the judges that deal with these thugs and have them show up, because I think it would be interesting to have the judges explain why they have been so soft on these criminals before the people in Agate. And Agate, like any other village, has had issues with methamphetamine. They've had issues with gangs down there, and it's possible that the villagers of Agate know firsthand many of the people that are responsible for perpetrating the majority of the crimes here.
Correct. To include the neighbors, they all know as well. I've been approached a few times by a certain lady that says, I have the license plate numbers, I have videos of it, I talked to the officers, this guy's been arrested, he's been released, he does it again, they arrest him again, and it just goes on and on.
Exactly. So everybody knows that they can game the system. I was talking about that Ferrer guy's the front page of the Guam Daily Post today, and he's been arrested. One of these days, he's going to kill somebody. That's the point. So he's trying to elude the police officers by going on a high-speed chase with two children, a 2-year-old and an 11-year-old, in the car. I mean, this guy is going to kill somebody. He's been gaming the system since 2013. Why isn't he behind bars?
Exactly. It's all really sad. And then we hear the stories that, we need to help corrections more. We don't have the right facilities. Well, in the meantime, I'm sure we can do something temporary.
Well, when it's a part-time legislature, Jim, when we finally get that part-time legislature in there, we might be able to save some money. I've also been toying with the idea, and I don't know, maybe this is something that you can think of, as we get more police officers out there, instead, I don't know what the courts are doing with that building fund that they've had. When does their building, when do they need to stop having so much money in their building fund? Can we take that, and instead of the judiciary's building fund, can we turn that into a Department of Corrections building fund so that the cops at least have a little bit more incentive to pull people over and arrest them? So they know that the fines are going to be going at least. Because you can't make it so that when you get a ticket, it goes to the police department. Otherwise these guys would be driving Cadillacs. The patrol cars would be Cadillacs. So the money goes all kinds of other places besides the police department, including the judicial building fund. Is it possible that we can hold off on some of the massive marble and granite that they need to put into our judicial center for a while and use that money instead to build a state-of-the-art Department of Corrections that will house all of the crooks that we have?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible, and there's a lot of other.
Can you get a guy to look into that? You got a guy?
I do. I do have a guy. And our overall budget, we're almost at $1 billion. We're short, but we're almost there. And where are our priorities for our expenses? And we're short in education funding. But right now the hot point is public safety. But yet we're on trips. Every little expense counts. And if we can just focus our attention on the public safety for the people, then we can get to those other nice to have things and so forth and move on. You're right. Yeah. Building material to the structure to, I have a beautiful marble bathroom in the legislature hall. So it's really nice.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how it is possible they put together all the time, trouble, and expense of building the new legislature, and then right there in the front of it, you've got this smoker's corner. And I'm going, you want to talk about your afterthoughts? It's right there in front of the church. You guys go in the back. 7:59 and change. Hey, look, Will Castro, delegate nominee Will Castro is watching on Facebook Live this morning.
All right. Hello, Senator Will.
Will, how come I'm hearing from people in the actual Republican Party of Guam saying, stop saying you're delegate nominee. We haven't chosen anybody yet. We're not going to have a caucus until March, for God's sakes. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Jimmy, I'm going to let you run. I'll see you later, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Ray.
See you, Nugget. Have a good time. The radio station is KUSG. I've gotten you 93.3. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Point.
From anti-American to anti-regime, I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News. Those demonstrators on the streets of Tehran doing an about-face after their leaders did the same.
Yesterday, officials admitted they shot down that plane, and the streets of Tehran erupted in anger. It started as candlelight vigils for the 16 Iranian student victims who were on board the doomed 737. The morning then turned against the hardline government. Chants of death to the dictator and death to liars, demanding the Ayatollah step down and those responsible be fired and put on trial. Security forces in riot gear fired tear gas and beat some in the crowd, with numerous injuries reported. We're also seeing video of the vast majority of protesters avoiding stepping on American and Israeli flags on the street. Walking on the colors has been promoted by the Iranian regime since 1979, but this time the crowd chanted, "The U.S. is not our enemy."
Fox's Rick Leventhal. Ukrainian officials say the Iranians never would have admitted one of their missiles shot down that Ukrainian jetliner had they not found debris in the wreckage. Last night, President Trump tweeting to the demonstrators in Farsi and English that he admired their courage. Today, his tweet was aimed at Iran's leaders. His message, also in Farsi and English, do not kill your demonstrators. Severe weather from the Gulf Coast to New England, 11 people dead, most of the victims in Gulf Coast states. 2 first responders in Lubbock, Texas, killed at the scene of a fatal accident on icy Interstate 27. Thousands are without power. Up to a foot of snow in the forecast from Michigan to Maine. In Dearborn, Michigan, record rainfall, people kayaking in the streets. America is listening to Fox News.
If you've ever struggled for breath, you know what a scary experience it is. Whether you have asthma, emphysema, COPD, lung cancer, or another respiratory illness, the right medical treatment makes all the difference. GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic has the latest technology and respiratory equipment, staffed by world-class pulmonologists. Make an appointment today with GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic and start breathing easier. GRMC, where patients are partners.
Happy New Year, folks! KFC's Colonel Sanders here. It's back! A great KFC chicken sale. The $5 box has 2 KFC boneless crispy chicken strips and 2 sides. Our $10 chicken share is your choice of 12 KFC hot wings, 8 chicken strips, or popcorn chicken. And my KFC $20 Wow bucket is back. Wow. 10 pieces original recipe drums and thighs with 2 large red rice. It's a great way to start 2020. This sale only happens in January, so visit us at KFC today. It's finger licking good.
More than a dozen Saudi service members training in this country are being kicked out. It follows that deadly shooting last year that claimed the lives of 3 young sailors at the Pensacola Naval Air Station.
Some of these Saudi service members set to be expelled reportedly have ties to extremist groups, and others are accused of possessing child pornography. The individuals expected to be removed from the country are not believed to have aided the Saudi service member accused in the December 6 shooting. This, according to an FBI investigation that reportedly found extremist rhetoric in online communications among some of the students. According to the Washington Post, the review found several of the students set to be expelled may have failed to report the gunman's alarming behavior leading up to the shooting. The Pentagon tells Fox News the decision to restrict about 850 Saudi military students to classroom training is still in effect while the U.S. officials review security measures.
Fox's Christina Coleman. At least 2,000 homes destroyed, 27 people dead, along with 1 billion animals. That's according to the latest estimates. Those bushfires still raging out of control in Australia.
The land left unscorched is still parched from a 3-year drought. Many experts fear this could be changing the ecosystems in Australia's unique environment for generations to come. Parks and wildlife branches have started dropping food. Things like carrots and sweet potatoes for endangered animals. Today in Sydney, we woke up with air quality as a hazardous level, and this is something that cities across Australia have been dealing with, even those that aren't dealing with actual fires. You wake up and it smells like a campfire. Other days it's fine. Some days it's terrible, and you'll have swimming pools and tennis courts and things like that closed while healthcare providers are urging folks to stay indoors.
Fox's Anna Koyman, 1917, topping the box office, won a Golden Globe last Sunday, is likely to pick up a couple Oscar nominations tomorrow. I'm Jay Metzler. This is Fox News.
Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro in the Grand Plaza Hotel in Tumon is stirring up some of your favorite drinks all night long. Come down on Wednesday and Friday nights from 5:30 to 10 p.m. Indulge in some of your favorite local cuisine and pair it with your favorite drink. From our ice-cold beers, our finest selection of wines and liquors, to our top-notch cocktail specials, your friends at Mezcla Bistro Tumon are ready to serve you. Why limit happy to only an hour? The Mezcla family reminds everyone to drink responsibly. See you on Wednesday and Friday night.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
A homeowner's policy protects much more than just your house. It also protects you against claims from someone being hurt on your property. If a visitor is injured at your place, how much are you covered for? The smart thing to do is get the answer today.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
Want to grow your business? Start a new venture? Or stay ahead of the competition? You can. With Docomo Pacific Smart Business Solutions tailored to your specific needs and ambitions, you can do it all. Partner with a network with best-in-class network coverage, state-of-the-art communication platforms, and a team dedicated to providing you with premium support. Call 688-2677 to start your journey to success today. Docomo Pacific Business, delivering your future today.
Today and good morning. It's 8:06. I'm Mana Silva Tyron with some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Incoming and departing flights in the Philippines' Ninoy Aquino International Airport have been suspended due to volcanic ash from the eruption of Taal volcano. Philippine Airlines has confirmed PR-110 from Manila to Guam was canceled, as was PR-111 from Guam to Manila. United Airlines has also canceled its flights, those including Flight UA-183 and UA-184. The volcano erupted yesterday, sending plumes rising more than a kilometer. Metro Manila residents reported seeing ashfall that affected the visibility of motorists as well. Thousands of residents surrounding the volcano are being evacuated. Views of the volcano's massive lake have been a popular tourist draw for tourists who flock to nearby Tagaytay City. A larger police force is what Guam Police Department Chief Steve Ignacio hopes to have by the end of the year. This, he says, will bring the force closer to 400 police officers on Guam roads. Ignacio says we realize that we need to bring the number of police officers back up to better respond to the needs of the community. He says 22 police recruits are set to graduate and hit the streets in late February, while 19 new applicants are undergoing background checks. He says GPD is also working with the Department of Administration to get a supplemental list to continue to recruit even more police officers. Another town hall meeting will be held this evening on public safety. The meeting's hosted by Senator Jim Moylan, who's been going village to village to talk about some of his bills, but also to get feedback from the community on concerns related to public safety. He was in Maritzo last week. Tonight's meeting will be at the Agate Community Center starting at 6 p.m. On that note, a public hearing will be held this week with Senator Therese Terlahi to address a bunch of bills that deal with penalties and sentences of criminals. The hearing will be at 1 p.m. on Wednesday at the Guam Congress Building in Agana. The first three bills set the minimum and maximum sentences for people convicted on criminal sexual conduct charges, robbery, and crimes against tourists, and a bill that would address pretrial releases of people arrested on such charges to include kidnapping and drug charges, and mandate them to wear an electronic monitoring device when they are released. It's been classified as a drowning, but the investigation continues. This after a man and woman were pulled from one of the lakes at the Guam International Country Club in Dededo on Friday, hours after they had registered as guests at the golf course. An autopsy is going to be conducted to determine the cause of death. And Guam Crime Stoppers seeking the help from the public regarding a robbery that took place on January 7th in the rear parking lot of Sunny Wholesale in Tamuning. Preliminary report suggests that around noon, the victim was at the rear side of Sunny Wholesale tending to his vehicle when an unknown man drove up to him on a Kawasaki Ninja. He demanded cash from the victim and fled toward Tamuning, leaving the victim unharmed. Anyone with information is urged to call the Guam Police Department or Crime Stoppers. More news after this.
Chili's 2 for $25 is back. Start with an appetizer to share. Then choose 2 entrees like our mouth-watering old-timer with cheeseburger or the Cajun chicken pasta, grilled chicken with penne and Alfredo sauce, and chili spices. Feeling extra? Upgrade to a personal fajita or our famous half-rack ribs. Bring a friend or a date to Chili's and get 2 entrees for $25. Located on the 2nd floor of Tumon Sands Plaza. Chili's. More life happens here.
The holidays are here and the shopping frenzy begins. Protect yourself with these safe shopping tips. Consider shopping only with retailers you trust or do some research on other retailers you aren't familiar with before proceeding. Don't save your credit card information on retail websites and never make payments when using public Wi-Fi. Switch to cellular data or wait until you get to a secure network to make your purchases. These safe holiday banking tips are brought to you by Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, member FDIC.
The mayors will be meeting with the governor, and they'll may get to wash their hands of at least some of the liberation festivities. The Mayor's Council and mayors of all the villages have for years taken charge of the Liberation Parade and the Carnival and the Queen's event. Mayor's Council President and Dedido Mayor Melissa Savara says that they'll be meeting with the governor and will determine who they can hand off the duty to. Savara says that the mayors have indicated, though, that they do want to maintain the memorials that take place in their respective villages. A letter expressing frustration with a 2018 Farm Bill and cockfighting ban is seeking signatures from residents, and it's been circulated amongst the island mayors. The origin of the letter is unclear, though. Mongmongtotomaiti Mayor Rudy Paco said that the letter was dropped off to his office, but he didn't know where it came from. He brought the letter to the Mayor's Council meeting on Wednesday to see if other mayors had received it. A man appeared to be circulating the same letter after the meeting, but the Guam Daily Post wasn't able to speak with him or confirm his identity or the letter. That letter is an appeal to Douglas Dominique, the Assistant Secretary of Insular and International Affairs at the U.S. Department of Interior. It's dated January 1, 2020, and outlines concerns with the 2018 Farm Bill, which banned cockfighting in the territories as of December 20th last year. Its writer states that they feel neglected, especially since their opinion has never been requested before the U.S. federal government decided to impede on the pastime that was passed down from ancestors. Guam Delegate Mike Nicholas is copied in on the letter, but he has not confirmed whether he has seen it. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
Before I get to the weather here, a word from Facebook Livers hitting me up, and everybody basically hitting me up on the WhatsApp is we got lousy traffic around the basically getting into the central parts of the island. Traffic slowing down the hill from where the old Honey Bear was all the way into the downtown Agutnia area. Traffic around Navy Hospital and Guam High has been a wreck all morning long, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better right now. 8:12 in the morning, we'll take a look at weather. As she says, partly cloudy today with isolated light showers. We can expect winds from the east 15 to 20 miles an hour or so, decreasing after sunset. Highs around 86 degrees and overnight lows about 76 degrees. We got the sunrise this morning at 6:47. Round up the usual suspects. Tell the others. Sunset tonight at 6:11 or so in some of the usual spots. And man, what a great sunset it was last night. Did you go out there and look at it?
No.
So having dinner over at, I was having dinner over at, where's the place? It's Sakura Dining across from GPO. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking out the window and thinking, I need to go outside and take a look at the rest of this. And it was just absolutely gorgeous. In fact, hold on a second, before we get to the radar, Pam Duvall sent me a picture of what sunset looked like over at her place last night. And take a look at that, guys. Let me just get rid of these comments here so you can see in all of its beautiful splendor and grandeur. Fire. That was Sunday night's sunset. Isn't that something? I think we're moving into that time where we're going to start seeing a lot more color. Imagine what it's going to be, and I hate to say, based on a potential disaster in the Philippines, imagine what it's going to be with more of that particulate, the ash, all over the Pacific Basin. You think it could happen?
It could happen, although the general trend with the winds right now is to take it up north towards Japan, because at the surface we have easterly winds, so it won't be coming anything from that direction. Right. And we just, generally speaking, don't get many westerly winds here in Guam, so it could carry it up past Japan. It may make its way around the earth and come over us in another form later on, maybe a few months down the road. That's how things go. But it could make for some nice sunsets, though, because we have to look through a lot of that dust and ash as we watch the sunset, and that will will get better as we get through the seasons because the sun will continue to move north on the horizon.
All right. Now, a couple of other notes on that. By the way, Joe and Goko is celebrating a birthday. Happy birthday to you, buddy. And Donna, it's Donalyn. Donalyn Uggan is 7 years old today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That's Keena that wanted me to make sure that I wished a happy birthday to him. Now, getting back to another thing, my friend, our friend, Marilyn Bersimmon has typed in this morning words that she's getting, news that she's getting out of the Philippines. Let me see if I can just get this online. The ash fall is all over Manila, even reaching into Baguio from south to north parts of the PI. No school advising people to wear masks and things like that. She says, I feel sorry for people who can't afford that and will just find a towel and wet it and then cover their face with that. And then expressing concerns about what happens if some of that stuff makes its way out here. Can we still run down in Tumon? Yeah, you're going to have to run fast, though, because we got some thugs out there. I played a video for you a little bit earlier of a guy that was doing a strong-arm robbery. Got a note from my buddy, says, the incident was early this morning. Units were able to apprehend both suspects, who were then confined over at the Department of Corrections. All of the tourist belongings were recovered, with the exception of about $400 in Japanese yen and about $20 in American money. Units later returned the recovered items to the victims. So if you saw that video, it's circulating now on social media. It's a security video of a guy.
What time early this morning?
Yeah, don't have that information, but maybe if we can get hold of Tapao, if he's not too otherwise busy, maybe he'll be able to give us some warning on what was going on there. But the good news is they were able to apprehend the suspect. Again, my guess is as soon as that video made its way out to the cop circles, I'll bet you every cop on Guam said, oh, I know these guys. I know where to find them. They're at a game room somewhere. They're just, milling around someplace. I guarantee these guys were super easy for the cops to catch. All right. Did we already do radar?
No, not yet.
Okay,
we're looking at it, though. Yeah, we're looking at it. Got actually a trade wind disturbance looks like it's coming on through the area, and that can happen from time to time. Sun may be getting some of these showers lifted up a bit, so it's starting to look a little more speckly out there, and so there may be a few more isolated showers than was originally thought. That's kind of how things have gone for the past few days. They think they've got a handle on things, and then nature goes, nah, watch this. And so that's kind of what's happening now. But these showers will be light. They'll move through fairly quickly, and really no big deal. Looking at satellite, we can see no major weather systems out there, just some cloudiness here and there. Do have 90W way off to the west by the Philippines, but it's getting pulled up to the north by these by the jet stream, which is you can actually kind of see it up in the upper left corner of the screen. That's why that particulate and the dust is being carried up towards Japan from the Philippines. It's because it's getting up to around 50,000 feet, and those upper level winds are just jetting it off towards that direction. Wow. So it's not likely that we'll see any of that, but the weather patterns could change in certain particular ways, and maybe in the middle levels of the atmosphere we could see some of that dust and things. I don't think we got to worry about any sort of dust or ash falling from the sky or anything like that. But it could make for muted daytime temperatures because of the sunshine having to bear down through some added dust, and it'll make for some nice sunrises and sunsets, quite possibly.
Mark Cruz had sent off some of the information. We were wondering about it in terms of airlines. It looks like just about everybody that is supposed to be coming in or leaving was able to get out. The flight from Guam to Narita has departed. Flight from Guam to Narita, another flight, UA 196, is standing by for an on-time departure, as is 873. And then you've got 137 Guam to Nagoya, which is scheduled for on-time departure as well. So it doesn't look like there's any major issues with United. Earlier, Paula Monk had indicated that there were a couple of flights yesterday that they held back on. Nothing new on any of the other flights, 183 and 184, bound from Manila, that should be leaving anytime soon. Keep your eye on radio. Call your friends over at United. If you have the United app, make sure that you've got that thing going and you've turned notifications on for it, so that if there is an issue getting into or out of town, or you're expecting people coming in from the Philippines, that you'll know about it. And then let me know. 818-819 now. That's news and weather together here on The Point.
Go green, go hybrid, go to Nanbo Insurance, and your next power bill is on us. Insure your hybrid car at Nanbo and get up to $350 towards your next power bill. That's instant savings for keeping our island clean and green. Nanbo has been providing Guam with over 50 years of reliable and affordable auto insurance. At Nanbo, it pays to go green. Terms and conditions apply. Visit nanbo.com or call 477-9754 for details.
I see that. Portions of the Ray Gibson Show being brought to you by the team over at Take Care, inviting you to swing by there and learn about the incredible and very successful programs that they have that could right things for you, in the very least, make you feel like you're a whole lot healthier. Fitness programs that encourage you and your family to live a healthy, balanced lifestyle. There's preventative care, being active, eating right, relaxing and unwinding, and being socially connected. You take that feel good, oh my God, I can't believe how healthy feeling I am, and then go combine that with some great salads that they've got for you over at Wendy's. 5 salads to choose from: classic Parmesan Caesar salad. They got a fruity apple pecan salad, which is one of my favorites. Make your mama proud. Eat your greens at Wendy's. Now, that's better. Oh, and American President Lines, APL, global presence with a local home.
The Coconut Wireless is back. The Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
That's the second time I've seen something like that. I made a private chat with one of the Facebook Live guys, and he's like, "Yeah, let me." But he's saying it right. He says, "Yeah, it's an interesting proposition. Let me check with my wife first." As opposed to, I'm sitting around with some of my buddies yesterday. We're planning some get-togethers for the Father Duane's class of '80, and we're talking about, okay, we'll we do this, and can you get this done by such and such a day? And the guy says, "Well, I've got to check my schedule. I've got to check my schedule." You know what that means? I got to check with my wife. That's exactly that's what all of that means. Yeah, I know. Because you got your phone in front of you right now. You could check your schedule as we speak. You could have already been opening up the calendar and taking a look at it.
The wife is also in charge of a whole nother schedule.
Is that the way it works?
Yes. You know, we have like events and other activities that are either family or not related.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad that you're.
So we might have committed to something that you're not quite aware of yet.
I see. This
that you will be made aware of like minutes before.
Now Google has a sharing deal on it. You realize that, right? Did you know that?
Yeah.
Not that kind of share. But so as an example, and I don't know if I assume that you get them. I've got a Google Calendar, and then there's different calendars that I have. I got a running calendar. There's a holiday calendar. There's the just regular Ray Gibson calendar, and then there's the Ray Gibson Show calendar. And Michael Knight, are you getting messages when I put something in there that says that so and so is going to be on the show at 9:00 on Friday?
You mean I'm supposed to check?
Yes, it's supposed to be going to your email. You should be getting an email that says Ray Gibson, because I've got to press the button on it. Okay, so let me double check. Yeah. Well, that explains a lot.
It doesn't do that.
Okay,
Visa. But he hears about it on Friday morning before.
Yeah, but usually, but sometimes it'll be like, hey, I've got so and so set up for a phone call at 9. I'm like, dude, I got Sublime LG is going to be on the radio at 9, and he gives me that Michael Knight. I'm going to kill you. Yeah, the frowny face. Anyway, 8:22 in the morning. Do I have? Is that Mark Colby on the line? You might be under the impression that things were all done over at the ball field with the conclusion of the game last week. But nothing could be further from the suit. There's more that's going on. Mark Colby, the voice of the Guam Major League, going to be working with under 15 ball players. Guam, CNMI, and the Kiwis of New Zealand are going to be here.
That is correct, sir. Starting tomorrow at Paseo Stadium, it's the 2020 15 Under Oceania Baseball tournament. That'll feature, like you said, New Zealand, CNMI, and Guam.
Mark, you have to film the haka if they do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, do Please. They? I mean, they're under 15ers. Do they? They're going to haka, right?
Yeah, you definitely have to film that and share that with us.
I have actually done it in the past on my own personal. When they did it last year and the year before, which is, I'll be honest, it's their tradition, it's their custom, and it is something to see live. It's one thing to see it on YouTube or on Facebook, but to be visible, present when they do a haka, it is something to truly be it all with. It is beautiful.
I did, absolutely, and I've always thought it was something that was. It's when you see it, it's almost intimidating. And I imagine the same as. I mean, I've seen it do it at weddings. And it's
you want to talk about fugu? That definitely gives you the chills. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I think that's going to be great. So as you said, the fun starts tomorrow.
That is correct. 12 noon. I do not have the schedule of who's playing. They're still working
it's not in the
on
paper
it.
either.
They're meeting today.
Yeah, they've got a schedule, but it doesn't say who's playing who. I don't know how much you can get away with just the three teams that are going to be going after it. Now, are you going to be calling these games?
That is correct. I will be calling the Oceania games.
Good man. Well, I'm glad to hear all of that stuff. So call back tomorrow when I figure by tomorrow we will know who's playing and what the situation is going to end up being. But if you're a nut for under 15 baseball, just watching kids get out there and have a good time on the field and start identifying some of the guys that are going to be key when we start playing baseball in high school and maybe even down into the major leagues. This is where we start to see some of that young talent.
Yes, that is correct. Last year, when we had the 15 under Oceania, we actually had about a half a dozen stateside MLB, the scouts. They were actually on island, and we did find out that they actually did recruit, I think, one or two guys from Australia and one kid from New Zealand in last year's tournament. So this is where the fundamentals, and this is where they start looking for who's going to be the next Hank Aaron or Martin McGuire.
and you know what? We got a lot of kids out here with a lot of talent, so we encourage that kind of thing. 8:25. I'm going to let you run, Mark. You have a terrific day.
You too, sir. Be safe.
You know I will. 888-8255-888-TALK. Dave Torrey writing in, and congratulations to everybody that participated in the first triathlon of 2020 down at USO. I tell you what, you could. I went from running on Saturday with a lot of these people, and I was done. I mean, after heading up that hill over at the Guam International Airport for their race, there was no way I think that I could have done even the 2-kilometer race that they had going on at the Super Sprint. But a lot of people turned around and did that. Congratulations. Here's the finishing. Guam Triathlon Federation Super Sprint. Number 1, first place, Manami Ijima Martin. No one is surprised. She is rehabilitated, and she's back out there on the road. For the males, Chris Jack, number 1. Number 2, Mark Imazu. And number 3 was Shin Miyagi. Females was, again, led by first place finisher Manami Ijima Martin, Christina Ingvarsson, who is just unstoppable out there. And look at that, Jen Camacho. And it wasn't that long ago that we were thinking that maybe Jen had run her last triathlon, her last event, because she had those heart problems after one of the other major triathlons down south. But it looks like she's got herself. I mean, after working, we trained for the marathon last year, and it was you could tell she was a caged tiger. I mean, she really wanted to get out there. She really wanted to train hard, and she trained as hard, I think, as the medical advice was given to her.
Good for her.
Yeah. But it's nice to see that she's placing
she's back
placing.
and she's placing.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
That's a really, really big deal. Congratulations. Super Sprint race number 2 will be January the 26th, again, 7 a.m. at the old USO in Petey. So if you were just at the edge of your training but thought, well, let me just see how this plays out, now that you know who the competitors are going to be and who's placing, again, Chris, Mark, Shin, Manami, Christina, and Jen, now that you know who you're really competing against, now it's time to modulate your training and hustle it up.
Step it up.
8:27 in the morning. Michael Knight's been able to find a local story for us.
That's right. The final day of the GSPN preseason tournament wrapped up Friday evening with the championship game between the FD Friars and JFK Islanders. And, of course, FD picks up the win in big fashion, 77-47. Islander guard Jeremiah Kentucky nailed a three-pointer right before halftime to get within 2 points, down 29-27 in an exciting first half. Friars flipped the switch and went on a 29-6 run in the third quarter alone to blow the game wide open. Well, that sounds a lot like the Texans game. Friars guard Isaiah Pelkey scored a game-high 23 points and shot an efficient 9 of 14 from the field, including 3 of 4 from downtown. Pelkey played aggressive and had an edge all game, as if someone didn't play his warm-up playlist before the game he spent all night working on. Fellow guard Matthew Santos scored 13 points, and all-tourney big man Matt the Sleek Freak Fergiger added 10 points and a highlight dunk in the first half.
Right.
Islander Rodson Sabina was the lead man for JFK, scoring 15 points. The Friars actually were just on fire during the entire tournament. They had a win margin of plus 42.6 points per game through their 5-game run. They were just mowing over people on the way to the title. So congratulations to
Brad.
FD.
Okay, Brad Ewart, and we got to get around to talking about some NFL stuff. Brad Ewart online saying another Chiefs TD. That makes 6 for them. What the heck? I mean, looking at the beginning of this game, we saw Houston. I mean, it was 28-0 or something ridiculous.
24-0. Yeah.
24-0.
But I told you, I thought it was like, it seemed like the football gods wanted them to spot us 24 just to make it fair. And that's ultimately what has happened now. It's now 41-24. We haven't scored a point since then. Mahomes has just gone wild, and this is really what I expected this game to look like, because Mahomes last year was, they were beaten, and there was some pretty controversial plays going on, but the Chiefs really were on pace to get there last year, and they didn't. And that was a learning lesson for Mahomes, and it looked like the Chiefs came out a little rusty. They started making some mistakes to start the game, based on what I can see in just the feed here. But then it turns out that Bill O'Brien, the coach for the Houston Texans, called for a fake punt on a 4th down, and that failed, and that is what started the momentum shift for the Chiefs, and now they lead 41-24. It looks like they're going to go to the AFC Championship game.
And play Tennessee.
They'll play Tennessee,
Yeah.
A couple of games yesterday actually they were very similar in that the scores were about the same. Let's talk about the first one. We'll talk about San Francisco and Minnesota.
Wait. If we're going to talk about the San Francisco game, I got to get the Jack Larimer video queued up.
Okay.
All right. Stand by with Jack Larimer. There it is. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to open up the Facebook, and there it is. There, Jack Larimer doing his victory dance. Congratulations to him and all of the other San Francisco 49er fans. I can only assume that there is a Dave Torrey version of the victory dance, but I don't have a copy of that. Diana, if you would, please send that to me. You've got the numbers. There's Jack Larimer, and I'm going to loop this thing. I got to find a way to loop this and send this out. He's got the, oh my God, I can't believe she won the election. Oh my God, my 49ers are in the playoffs, could make it all the way to the big dance.
Yeah, and they did it really well. They basically shut down Minnesota, which Minnesota is not necessarily an offensive powerhouse anyway, but they did. They shut them down and did so at the right time while getting out there and scoring their own. 27-10 the final score there. So San Francisco will be hosting the NFC Championship game against whoever wins the Seattle-Green Bay game, which will start at 9:40 this morning. Tennessee also easily handled Baltimore, and that sounds weird because we didn't think it was going to be like that. But this game wasn't even close, not on any level. Tennessee's defense was typical bend but don't break. They gave up a whole lot of yards, but when it came right down to the crunch time, Tennessee's defense put a stop on Deshaun Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, and they were shocked and surprised. And I think this was Jackson's lesson, like Mahomes got last year. Look for the Ravens to be back next year in the run of things. But Tennessee now in the AFC Championship game after dumping the Patriots and the Ravens. So you just, those guys are for real right now. And of course, we're keeping up with the game that started this morning right around the time the show started. And Kansas City now leads 41-24 in the third.
All right, so keep an eye on that, and then we'll catch up with the Seahawks and Green Bay later on.
That's right. Yeah, I really expect Green Bay to win that game. It's in Green Bay.
I'd like to see the Seahawks in there. Seahawks got a wonderful team. They got a fantastic fan support, and have been to the dance before. It would be interesting to see, if they would be able to prepare up in a couple of weeks But I mean, first of all, they got to win what is going to end up being a West Coast championship between them and San Francisco.
That's right. Yeah, if it maps out that way, and if they have to win
that's
today
what I
for
want
that
to see,
to
because
happen.
that would be the battle of the fans here on Guam.
Oh, absolutely.
So the 49ers against the Seahawks. I mean, that's where everybody's got a friend or relative that lives close to Niners territory, and definitely up in Seahawks territory.
Well, and that's why a lot of people were actually hoping Houston won today, because that would also pit
Set up
divisional teams against each other that play each other and know each other really, really well. Plus, there's a backstory with Tennessee and Houston anyway. So, but that doesn't look like that'll happen. So we'll see how this the next game goes, though. Again, I expect Green Bay to win, but you never know.
All right.
Russell Wilson.
And the last piece of sports here for you, for anybody that really cares and wondering, hey, what race is Ray Gibson going to be running in the upcoming Guam International Marathon? And the answer is, it was decided for me in about the last 3/4 miles of the Guam International Airport race. There was a water stop, and I left the pavement to get on the shoulder so I could get some water. And what happened was I misjudged the height of the pavement from the shoulder, and came in on the side of my foot. And from there, gravity took over. So I think I've retwisted my ankle, and I've got some road rash on my knees right now. The knees are fine. I mean, I just as sores. Runners get sores, right? But in this case, I'm worried a little bit about the ankle and the side of the foot. I'm going to take it easy, probably for a week, maybe a week and a half, and then make plans for the half marathon. Because if I lose at this point, if I lose any more than a few days worth of training, it will throw my my regular training routine for the marathon off completely.
Yeah, I left quite a bit of DNA on Guam's sidewalks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I fall all the time, but it's really an issue that runners ought to raise with the Department of Parks and Recreation, not Public Works, rather. Because those little stumps, where those signposts, they stick up.
They don't care about runners. They barely care about drivers.
And so, or even the grout in between those the pavement, or what do you call it, the sidewalk cracks.
Oh yeah,
there's that little bit of, it's just about maybe a quarter of an inch. That sticks
just
up.
enough to
And if you
trip
drag your feet a little bit, you'll fall over.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't talk to those guys about. They've got all kinds of other problems. How about you get these guardrails up there? We've got these nice guardrails. Federal government buys us these beautiful guardrails. Some drunk idiot, nails them, and then we're stuck with these, all snarled up guardrails for the rest of our lives. We can't go in there, and it was it was one of my favorite callers from years ago.
And I think we're supposed to go after their insurance company so that they can make repairs to those.
Well, yeah, but in a lot of cases they're hit and runs, and and in a lot of cases they're just people. They ain't got no money, and you can force me to pay some kind of retribution. I'll give you $1 a year for another 115,000 years because I can't pay you. That's the nature of the things that we got. It's hard to hold people accountable to those kinds of things around here. So yeah, we can talk to DPW until we're blue in the face about something that affects runners. Yeah, we're low on the scale. We've got the government vehicles, and then there's regular roadway vehicles, and then there's cyclists, and then there's runners.
Or you even have it on your hand.
Yeah, I got the.
You got the Jesus mark.
I got the Jesus.
I got
mark.
one too.
Happy Easter, 8:36 in the morning. I think that's all the time that we got to pretend to talk about sports. So I'm only running the half marathon this year because I know for sure that I can train for that. And one other thing, don't feed me if I can't run. Then I can't lose weight. So please don't feed me. I should have paid attention to this. Yesterday is yogurt and fruit for breakfast, and then I got hungry.
Maybe that's why you misjudged the sidewalk because you're a little heavier.
So the lunch
Your
was
lift is different.
a can of chili no beans with hot dogs on rice. Because I'm that guy. And then the boys came over to talk about Class of 80 stuff, and Dennis Sakamoto brings pizza. You know how I am with pizza. And somebody brought, Dyron brings a bucket of KFC chicken, and you know how I am with fried chicken. And
so you actually
might have been one or two beers there. And then family dinner over at Sakura Dining.
I literally cannot eat that much in a day. There's no way. It's impossible.
Well, neither does he. He usually just goes by on one meal a day.
On one meal, but I don't know. I just
yesterday you were hungry.
There was fried food and there was pizza in front of me. I got to do it.
And you're with
right?
the boys too, so it's kind of hard to
8:37.
not celebrate when you're with the boys.
8:37. That's all the time we got to pretend to talk about sports. My God, it's almost 9 o'clock. Mana's got her last look at headlines coming up next.
From the start of the NFL football season, Point listeners have gotten together in friendly competition to battle it out in the Points NFL Pick'em contest. Along with weekly winners picking up great prizes, we have also awarded our grand prize winner, Art Hameister. Art correctly guessed 170 picks. Wow. Good enough for him to win a new iPhone from GTA. Congratulations, Art. Thanks to all who participated in the Points NFL Pick'em contest. Brought to you by Current Guam with special thanks to GTA.
So you still beat him, huh?
Yeah, I still beat him. But it wasn't great. That was I did far better last year. I think in the last year, based on injuries and maybe a little bit of overeating, probably have lost about 4 minutes from my best time. But hey, I'll work on it. Right? 8:38 in the morning. Dave Torrey's going to take me out and give me my own personal training. They did that at Unified last year. They're not doing it this year. But there is. While I'm thinking about it, give me just 1 second to see if I can get this get a message back from these guys online. There is another one of these gyms. That I saw this on Instagram, and they're going to be conducting training for their gym members. Custom Fitness, there it is. Anyway, so for members of Custom Fitness, it's free. Non-members will have a fixed cost that comes with a recovery drink every session. So $200 will cover 3 months worth of programming, gym access, running, and a recovery drink following every session. Their system is multi-dimensional strength and conditioning, metabolic conditioning, and less volume running. Run group meets early mornings on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And Unfortunately, on Tuesday and Thursdays, guess who does a morning show?
Yeah.
And can't go.
They'll run by you.
Yeah, but I'm like, wow, $200. Might as well just join the gym. That gets me 3 months worth of membership. That isn't bad in comparison to other gym memberships, right? Anyway, so check them out over at Custom Fitness if you're interested in doing something along those lines. It's 8:39 and time for our last look at headlines. Now with news from the Guam Daily Post. Here's my baby sister, Montecillo Tyrant.
Guam residents watching the developments in the Philippines following the eruption of the Taal volcano. The eruption has resulted in flights in and out of the Philippines being canceled. Philippine Airlines confirmed that Flight 110 and 111 have both been canceled. United Airlines also canceled a couple of flights yesterday. The volcano has shot a plume of ash a kilometer up into the air, and it spread nearly throughout the Philippines from Metro Manila to Baguio. Another town hall meeting will be held this evening on public safety. The meeting hosted by Senator Jim Moylan. Tonight's meeting will be at the Agate Community Center starting at 6 p.m. And then a public hearing that'll be held this week by Senator Therese Terlahi to address a bunch of bills dealing with penalties and sentences of criminals. The hearing will be at 1 p.m. on Wednesday at the legislature. The first three bills set the minimum and maximum sentences for people convicted on criminal sexual conduct charges, robbery, and crimes against tourists, and a bill that would address pretrial releases of people arrested on such charges. And those are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, you can pick up a copy of the paper or you can log on to their website at postguam.com.
All right, and a couple of notes here. As a friend of mine is reporting that there's no school for the children in downtown Manila as a result of concerns of the ash clouds and any of the contaminants that might be floating around there. Got this from, let me see here, the Office of the Governor. And remembering now the group, Jimmy Moylan was talking about the Speaker of the Legislature now with a resolution in support of world peace. This is the outfit that is going to be receiving the resolution and probably getting a proclamation. In fact, I know they're getting a proclamation here today over at the governor's office. Re-election time for some folks, isn't it? So the
last week the resolution was the Sokogai, right?
Sokogai was that resolution, and they're getting a proclamation signing here today over at the governor's office. 3 p.m. Business License and Permitting Center. Acting Governor Josh Tenorio will be touring the Business License and Permitting Center. How about that?
Wow!
He's going on a tour of the Business Licensing and Permitting Center.
Is it also known as One Stop?
It could be the One Stop location there. He's going to go on some kind of a tour. Look at him.
Right across the
Wouldn't it be nice if our legislature resolved to start taking care of their duties better?
Just you know what? We don't need resolutions around here. There's got to be another department of nose pickers that we can move that off to, and not have to worry about a speaker's office or you were in the government, you were at the legislature. Is there a resolution department there?
No, each of the senators do their own resolution. I did a resolution, but it was it was actually a resolution that asked the federal government to consider maintaining the pay for Guard and reservists out here on Guam as they were preparing.
Sound like an important resolution.
Yeah,
something that goes off to the federal government as opposed to resolutions that we've got. I mean, there's got to scale.
They were doing the defense budget, and so they were considering at the time cutting some of the pay and the benefits for our Guam Guardsmen and reservists. So our resolution was basically asking them, consider that we're all the way out here defending the United States in Asia.
I think there needs to be, there's nothing in my mind wrong with a resolution that we send that carries an important message with the weight of the people of Guam behind it, and something that would be taken seriously in Washington, D.C. But my guess is that Washington, D.C., when they get these resolutions out there, looking for important things and steps to be taken in our relationship with the federal government, my guess is they look at them and say, yeah, these are the same people. Last week they did this thing for a bowling club and another guy's retirement.
Right.
So you how much weight, how much gravity does a resolution from the legislature have? And my guess is it probably not even worth the paper it's written on or the expensive frames they come in. It's 8:43. That's iConnect time. Run to the nearest iConnect and learn what they can tell you about saving money. They've got all kinds of great plans for 2020 and beyond. Learn more by calling 888-8888.
The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts of Guam Training.
Hi, I'm Jerry Roberts, and every day on The Ray Gibson Show, I get to comment on the incredibly diverse, fun, challenging, sometimes frustrating, often exciting, but always interesting world of work. I hope you'll be there with us.
You can find daily transcripts of The Extra Point at guamtraining.com. Tune in every weekday morning at 7:20 for The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts, brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and First Hawaiian Bank on 93.3 The Point.
8:44 in the morning, and what do we got for you by way of traffic? I'll tell you in a second about traffic, but also getting word from more contacts in the Manila area about what things are like in the Makati area in particular with the ash cloud and the bloom that has come up. Looks like things have quieted down. In fact, I got word about 8:15 this morning that the mess in front of Navy Hospital has cleared. Traffic Gizmo is telling me that as well. 8, 10, and 16 looks like that one there. Just northbound traffic. No, in fact, not even that. There was some, but it looked like that is cleared up as well. A little bit of traffic heading over to Harvest. Roy T. Demion has got some clogging in some of the usual parts. And did they turn on the water yesterday finally? There was a water outage.
You know, my house never actually lost water.
I see.
But I don't know if the folks closer to, like, across the street.
Maybe they lost something like that out there. 10 and 15, a little bit busy trying to go across Route 10. If you're on 15, watch out for that. But most of Route 4 has cleared up. Maybe a little bit of traffic over by Polaris Point. Looks like it's moving all right there. And Big Navy down in Suma. It's 8:45. That's right now traffic. This is The Point.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad. Woo! Go Subway sliders starting at $1.99 each. Woo! Give me a ham and jack slider.
Ham and jack slider.
Give me an Italian spice slider.
Italian spice slider.
What's that spell?
It doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders starting at $1.99 each. Go sliders!
Subway, make it what you want.
Been an interesting morning, huh? 8:46 in the morning. 888-8255-888-TALK is my telephone number around here, and a lot going on. Any apologies if they're required. If you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube Live and going, hey, you know what? When Ray's mouth moves, the words aren't coming out at the same time, which is unusual given our system. And we'll reset things, but I can't fix them when I'm on the air. That's the problem. So we got to wait until after 10 o'clock this morning. And there's other mechanicals that I've got to take care of today. So everything should be all right by the time it gets to be Tall Tales time with Bob Klitsky. And what's Bob going to talk about today? You know, I don't know. I don't know. You know, sometimes this is. I know he'll start off with something about the Second Amendment. I'm pretty sure he's going to go on about that. And while I'm thinking about the Second Amendment, we've got public hearing that's going to be taking place not today, but Wednesday over at the legislature. They're going to be going over a number of bills, and it seems to me that the people of Guam have just about had it with judges and prosecutors that are making deals and giving some of these thugs a slap on the wrist, and have been doing so for a long time. So much so that they've figured out how to game the system. They know how to make the judges and the prosecutors look like absolute asses around here. And excuse the French, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is. You get these guys and they get all thugged out. I don't think when the cops pull people over and they find guys with crystal methamphetamine in the car, my guess is the guys don't even flinch. Oh, darn. This guy's going to confiscate $150 worth of crystal methamphetamine. Shucks. Now I got to go talk to the judge. And then I'm going to get out, and then I got to go find $150 and then replace what I've got, what the cops have confiscated. And my guess is in 2020, that's probably the easiest thing in the world. I'll bet. I eat a bug if it's not true. But I'll bet you if you really tried, I mean, if you just started asking around some of the people at work, you probably wouldn't have to go any more than about 2 or 3 people deep before somebody would say, oh, yeah, I can help you score that. How much money you got? I don't know. How much does it cost? And a story in the Pacific Daily News the other day was that the cost of crystal methamphetamine has come down on Guam, which means that it's going to be more available. I still cannot, for the life of me, understand why anybody in 2020, after everything that this community has been through in the last 20 years, why would anybody start smoking ice? Why would you want to do that? I mean, it's not like you can't get your hands on beer. It's not like you can't get your hands on marijuana anymore. For heaven's sakes, why would you want to get yourself into that kind of, oh, my God, high if you know that there is no upside at the end of it? They say at the second time you've used it, you're hooked. And that's all there is to it. That will become the new monkey that rides your back for the rest of your life. Why would you do that? You know, it's the same thing. Every once in a while, I'll run into somebody that smokes. When did you start smoking? Oh, a couple of years ago. Why would you start smoking? Do you know how much cigarettes are? And then there's this. Somebody had asked me about that. I said, "Did you ever smoke?" And if anybody knows me, you know that I had at least a 2-pack a day habit from the time that I was about 14 or 15 until I was about, has it been 10 years? About 44, 45 was when I stopped smoking cigarettes. I put the emphasis on the word smoking. And there were a lot of reasons why I did it. You know, I love my family, love the kids. So that was one of them. Also love me. I thought I was a little bit too young to be feeling as bad as I was. And so I knew that cigarettes were probably part of that. And so I quit smoking. That's not to say that I was able to quit nicotine completely. That's a little trickier. Quitting nicotine, that's the stuff. I mean, you can deal with no cigarettes. In fact, your life improves a zillion times when you don't have to worry about whether you've got enough cigarettes to get you through the end of the day, whether when you wake up in the morning you got enough cigarettes to get you to the store so you can buy another pack. Otherwise, you get to be that jerk that starts scrounging around the ashtray looking for something that you can straighten out that smells like hell, that will get you at least a little bit of the nicotine so that you can get your day, so you can get your heart started, right? I never, ever want to be that guy. I never want to be the guy that's got a full pack of cigarettes but doesn't have a lighter. And there's a special anxiety that you get when you realize that you put your hands into every pocket that you've got, you've opened every drawer at the house, and the closest thing that you've got now to light your cigarette is the stove. And so you go to the stove and you turn the stove on, and once it goes orange, you might be able to light your cigarette. There's also that desperation. And I didn't want to be that guy anymore. And the day I quit smoking cigarettes was the day that I stopped having that anxiety. And it was replaced with a new anxiety. How much is Nicorette and where can I buy it? If I don't have time to run to Kmart to get it, where else can I go buy Nicorette? How much does it cost? Nicorette is priced about the same way they price gasoline. There's nothing cheap about it, but if you want to be able to start a cessation program and step down, that's the way to do that. But again, the idea is, why would anybody in their right mind that is familiar with the price of cigarettes, the syntax associated, basically the way that society has cast off cigarette smokers? I mean, my guess is that you got pedophiles that probably rank higher than cigarette smokers in some places. And so why anybody would start doing that now? It's the same thing with the crystal meth. Why anybody would start smoking crystal methamphetamine, knowing what we know and the damage to this community is quite beyond me. Closing in on 8:52 in the morning. So public hearing Wednesday. It'll start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon over at the legislature, and they're going to go over the possibility here that we might be able to legislatively and with the assistance and signatures from the Guam Police, from the governor's office, be able to prescribe now certain measures that would put guardrails on the capabilities of the judges and the prosecutors in their sentencing. So there would be sentencing guidelines. My guess is that there is probably going to be a significant amount of pushback from among the judges and people in the criminal justice system saying, well, you know, what can we do about this? And gee, you can't tie our hands here. You can't make it mandatory. Otherwise, what's the point of the criminal justice system? Why would we need it'll happen. We'll just watch the drama unfold if it even gets that far. Even if it even gets that far, we're talking about legislation that has been introduced by Senator Jim Moylan. The fact that it's even getting a public hearing is kind of a miraculous thing to me, considering how soft most of the rest of the legislature seems to be on crime. You don't need to look too much further than some of the conversations about our mayor and the problems that he has. Is it me or why are we wasting so much time, and why hasn't the legislature done more in the months since this guy's been behind bars to be able to put something together for the people of Zutnia? And now that they have, it may feel like too little too late, especially if the mayor is able to appoint a municipal council. More on that a little bit later on. But the legislature needs to. And we had a conversation about this yesterday, me and the boys, talking about it. And I've expressed my disappointment that, as far as I know, Joe S. St. Augustine, most of the time doesn't have legislation I'm absolutely crazy about, but he had proposed the Stand Your Ground law in February of last year, and it has not even had a public hearing. Oh, I'm here to tell you guys, we need this. We absolutely need it. There was a guy at Sunny Market the other day, minding his own business, taking care of his obligations to go and make sure there's food in the cupboard. Here comes a dude on a motorcycle and then robs him. And I want to say at knife point, right? That was at knife point? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you come at me with a knife, and I've got my pistola ready to go. Don't bother calling the police. Call the morgue, because that's where you're going. And they would say, well, you were not at your house, you were not at your business, you were not in your car, and as a result of that, you were duty bound to retreat. And I would say I felt an imminent threat to my life, because this guy was coming at me with a knife. So it doesn't matter whether or not the Castle Doctrine followed me, in my mind, to Sonny's. And the fact that somebody was coming after me with a knife, I believe, would give me the right to defend myself with whatever I had available on me. If I had another knife, great. If I had a baseball bat, great. But I don't generally carry a knife or a baseball bat because they make Glocks so portable. So I'm just saying. But we haven't had a public hearing that would provide for that in law. If the guy comes after me at my house, Castle Doctrine protects me. If the guy comes after me in my car, Castle Doctrine protects me. If the guy comes after me here in the studio, Castle Doctrine protects me. But Payless parking lot, Sunny parking lot at the W at 3 o'clock in the morning, walking down the street over by the Grace Massage in Tumon. Does it protect me there? And that's where the crimes are going. So we've got to allow for the capabilities of individuals to be able to protect themselves wherever they are and by whatever means. And for whatever reason, people over at the legislature, outside of I'm sure Jim and Joe S., for whatever reason, seem to disagree. The thing just cannot get out of committee, and I don't understand why. Don't understand why. Now, the other side of the conversation is if, and I don't know, I'll say if it happened to Mike, because the people will say if it happened to me, then maybe the justice system would look the other way on that. You know, because Ray Gibson and all of that. But if a guy like Mike was walking around his neighborhood one day and here comes a dude on a motorcycle armed with a knife, if Mike had a gun and dispatched him away from his house, away from his car, and away from his business, how much trouble would Mike get into? And I'm of the opinion, I don't think he'd get into all that much trouble at all. I think if it came down to bullets, the cops probably say, thanks for doing us a favor. I think a shrewd lawyer might be able to get the case dismissed or pled down to manslaughter or something like that. I just don't know how much trouble you'd get into. But still in all, I'd like to see the protection available there. And as I said, the legislature just hasn't gotten around to doing that. What with all the resolutions that they think that they need to put out there and all of the, what was it? We got to get, how many Christmas trees do we need to have on the parade of Christmas trees over at the legislature? This was a priority. This was a priority, believe it or not, leading up to the Christmas holidays. It was a priority for the Speaker's office to make sure that every senator found some money, got a tree, got it decorated, and got it in the front part of the legislature so that they had a parade of Christmas trees. Thank goodness. Thank goodness we don't have to worry about that. I mean, I'm okay. I'll take care of myself. I'll protect myself in the parking lot. I've got my own video surveillance system. I've got my own alarm system. I'll take care of my stuff as long you take care of the Christmas trees over at the legislature. That will be your job. 8:58 in the morning, 888-825-5888-TALK. There are a couple of other things, and I spend a lot of time talking about crime because I think for me it's a big deal because I hear from people that are scared to go around with their lives because they're worried now because of the kind of random and rampant crime that we've got that the government seems to be incapable of doing. Otherwise, what else is there to worry about? Well, how much longer is it going to be before the rule goes into effect where if you don't have a job for at least 20 hours a week or are looking for a job, how much longer is it going to be before public health says you don't get food stamps no more, guy? You better start looking for a job because I think that date's coming up soon. Are there jobs out there? Dude, there's jobs. There's some sweet jobs out there, and with companies that you can grow with. And if you got skills, even better, even better. I'll share that with you before too much longer. In the meantime, the radio station is KUSG. I've gotten you 93.3. This is The Point.
For the victims, 63 of them Canadian. I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News.
Oh, Canada.
That service underway on the University of Alberta campus. The school and that Western Canadian city lost students, parents, and young children when a Ukrainian jetliner with 176 people on board was shot out of the sky shortly after taking off from Tehran's airport. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau addressing the mourners.
All Canadians were heartbroken to hear that Ukrainian International Airlines Flight 752 had crashed. All Canadians were shocked and outraged to learn that it had been brought down by an Iranian missile.
After talking about the victims, he mentioned one 10-year-old boy who hoped he could be Prime Minister one day. Trudeau promised,
"We will not rest until there are answers. We will not rest until there is justice and accountability."
The service on CTV. Do not kill your protesters. That tweet today by President Trump directed at Iran's leaders in both Farsi and English. Those demonstrators chanting death to the dictator, death to liars, after learning Iran's military was responsible for downing that Ukrainian jetliner. The Iranian regime initially blamed mechanical failure for the crash. Ukraine's government, meantime, says Iran never would have admitted the missile strike had Ukrainian crash investigators not discovered missile debris in the wreckage which Iran was bulldozing under. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi expected to turn over those articles of impeachment against the president this week ahead of his Senate trial. America's listening to Fox News.
It's hard to believe, but Security Title is 20 years old. Reaching this milestone is a clear testament to the hard work of our employees, who are as passionate about our work as we are about our community. We are most grateful for the realtors, lenders, attorneys, investors, and the buyers and sellers we serve. They are the reason our doors have been open for 20 years. Security Title looks back with gratitude for the past 20 years and looks forward with optimism to the next 20. Thank you, Guam.
GRMC's Neuroscience and Neurology Department treats a wide spectrum of disorders associated with the nervous system, spine, and brain. Some of the more common disorders include seizures, epilepsy, dementia, sleep disorders, migraine, and stroke, which is one of the leading causes of death on Guam. GRMC's neuroscience team is equipped with the latest technology and the finest neurological doctors. To make an appointment, contact GRMC Specialty Clinics at 645-5500.
6 rockets fired into Iraq's Balad Air Base near Baghdad Sunday. 4 Iraqis wounded, no Americans hit. U.S. military trainers and employees for the company that repairs our F-16s live on that base. no claim of responsibility for the rocket attack. The Pentagon has identified 2 U.S. service members killed by a roadside bomb in Afghanistan on Saturday. They are 29-year-old Staff Sergeant Ian McLaughlin of Newport News, Virginia, and 21-year-old Private First Class Miguel Villalon of Joliet, Illinois. They were assigned to the 82nd Airborne based at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. 2 other soldiers were hurt. The Taliban is claiming responsibility. At least 11 deaths here blamed on weather. 3 people killed by a tornado in northern Louisiana.
In Oklahoma, a man drowned after he was swept away by floodwaters trying to get out of his stalled truck. And hundreds of thousands of people are without power from Texas to Ohio, with a state of emergency in Arkansas. Another tornado in Alabama killed 3 people. Emergency management officials said it was embedded in a long line of intense thunderstorms. Homes were flattened, debris was strewn across the neighborhood. Sleet and frozen rain made for dangerous driving conditions in Missouri, Kansas, and Texas, where ice led to a crash that claimed the lives of first responders working on another crash scene in Lubbock.
That's Fox's Jackie Heinrich, a 3rd first responder still in critical condition. The number of fire fatalities in Australia now 28. A film about World War I topping the box office.
They're walking into a trap.
1917 won a Golden Globe last Sunday, is likely to pick up a couple Oscar nominations when they are announced tomorrow morning. 1917 making $36.5 million. I'm Jay Metzler, and this is Fox News.
The holidays are here and the shopping frenzy begins. Protect yourself with these safe shopping tips. Consider shopping only with retailers you trust, or do some research on other retailers you aren't familiar with before proceeding. Don't save your credit card information on retail websites, and never make payments when using public Wi-Fi. Switch to cellular data or wait until you get to a secure network to make your purchases. These safe holiday banking tips are brought to you by Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, member FDIC.
It says here, 5 after 9 o'clock in the morning. Hey, portions of the Ray Gibson Show being brought to you by APL Global Presence with a local home.
Real Talk Radio is back. Welcome to The Point, Guam's FM News Talk Superstation.
Show. What is it, Monday? What kind of stupid question is that? All kinds of tech issues we've had to deal with this morning. Of course it's Monday. Of course it's Monday. Are there any other Monday things that are going on out there? Yeah, it might be. You're going to be in a hurry for something today, but watch out for it, because DPW's put out a list, and I forget which newspaper it is, but it's a list of all of the projects that they've got working, and it just talks about intermittent lane closures. I hate that word, intermittent lane slow. And it was between 9 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the evening. Well, narrow that down, would you? So I know not to go to that place. And I'll tell you what, there's a variety of ways, and ways, in fact, is one of them. There's a few things that might be able to help you with, to help you move around a little bit more efficiently. Now, I've got a traffic gizmo on my phone, but there literally are all kinds of other traffic gizmos that work on Guam. And the way they work on Guam is kind of a crowdsourcing idea. I've got location on my phone, you've got location on your phone, and everybody else has location on their phones. And the good news is all of that stuff gets sent back to the phone companies. And they keep track of the time of day and the day of the week and the hours and all of that stuff. And we'll also show you where things are crowding up. Now, as an example, I want to say Waze is pretty good at this, although I haven't used it in a long time. The other day, I had to get on the road and go meet somebody. It was Thursday last week. And my buddy says, let's meet and go running. And I said, okay, that's a good idea. Sounds like a fun time. I said, where do you want to meet? He says, Tumon. All right, so from my place, Mongmongtot to Mighty, to get to Tumon, the fastest, most efficient way to do that is going to be going through Tidzin, out by the old airport and down that awful intersection. Then you make that turn left, go to pass by Home Depot and get out to Marine Corps Drive. And from there, you a couple of different ways that you can get into Tumon. But depending on what day of the week it is, sometimes somewhere between 3:45-ish and 6:30-ish, traffic on Teedson, I mean, that's, you never know. It's hit or miss. But there are times where the traffic will back up just a mile in, three-quarter miles away from the airport. And you don't know until you've actually come up on it. And you go, oh, drat. And it's tough to make a U-turn there because the road is narrow. That's number one. And it's hard to tell just how far away this thing is. I mean, is it just bad here, or does it go all the way up to the intersection? Yes, it usually does go all the way up to the intersection. And you go, wow, I wish there was a way that I could have seen that coming. So you get on the road, and you can do this on Apple's Maps. You can do it. Google's Maps are much more because there's more Google users. I mean, Android users. So Google Maps will give you a much more accurate picture of what you see. So before you get on the road, you take a look at that and you look at the traffic over by the old airport and say, that sucks. And just take Marine Corps Drive. Might go a little bit out of your way, but at least you will be moving. You won't be wasting time, wasting gas, stuck in traffic. So that's the recommendation. If you are not using, I know what you're going. I know what you're saying. Well, I don't need a Maps app on Guam. It's not like we're building new roads all the time. It's not like I need to know, where things are. I know where everything is. Dude, start using the maps that came with the phone. And even if you've got an Apple phone, you're going, well, I've got an Apple phone. Does that mean I have to use Apple Maps? No. Google Maps is bilingual. You can download the Google Maps app onto your phone and be able to use that to see where things are going. And now the other fun thing is actually plug in your destination. If you're going someplace and say you want to go to where is it up in Dededo? Just say KFC up in Dededo, as an example. So, but say it when you're like at 8, 10, and 16. You want to go to KFC up in Dededo, because it'll the most efficient roadway is going to take you to some places where the lady at Google Maps and Apple Maps, she can't pronounce them. She cannot pronounce any of the road names at all. It's great. It's well, you just sit there. You need something to laugh at. The radio can still play. You can still listen to me. But as it comes up, it'll dim the audio on the radio and say, okay, in 800 meters, turn right at Macheche. Make your way in there. It sounds like, well, it sounds like it's exactly what it is. There's a computer out there trying to sort out what is unsortable in our language. 11 after in the morning. It is 888-8255-888-TALK. As has been said many, many times before, there are concerns from among some people in the community that upwards of around 2,000 or so people might be on the wrong side of legislation and rules that have been promulgated by none other than the President of the United States of America, which is basically, look, if you're an able-bodied person that doesn't have anybody depending on you, I forget what the cutoff numbers are, then you have to go and work. Otherwise, you're not getting any SNAP benefits. You have to be able to show that you're working at least 20 hours a week or are getting training into a job. Otherwise, we don't see why the rest of polite society has to take care of your lazy butt.
Actually, I've thought about quitting this job, getting on public assistance, and then go getting a part-time job over at the jet ski place. Joe's Jet Ski over there by Santa Fe.
I know exactly where you're talking about.
But what a great job. And
Korean hot pants.
I would actually make more money.
Yep. And be able to have access to the benefits.
I could eat steak, bro.
And the reason why he didn't, no, you can't. You still have lousy teeth.
Man, I'll gum it if I could afford it.
Yeah. Well, mincemeat it, right? And that's what Rico Blancaflor was saying in the last hour. Was talking in the last hour about overeating these days, and concerns that I have. Don't feed me. It doesn't. You're going to say, look at me someplace again. Ray, you look hungry. Let's eat. Don't feed me because I'm not running for a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks to take care of my foot. So please don't feed me. If you feed me, it will just make me fat, and then I won't even be able to make the half marathon. So
yeah, well, you weren't able to even get up on the curb the other day, bro.
Yes, it was tough. Yeah, no, it was dark. They didn't have lights over there. It's one of those places, like many other roadways here on Guam, where there's no lights.
I'm sure James Howard would tell us it's probably increased gravity due to sunspots or something.
Yes. Well, I'm wondering. I have not heard from James Howard. I was thinking about James Howard this morning, though. Like I said, the original theme for today's program was what if the Mayans were right? End of days, the great cataclysms. How many earthquakes have we had in interesting places? Was there not one in Iran not that long ago?
Yes.
We've got an eruption now. There is an eruption. You've got pictures of Taal.
Yeah,
now.
I sent them to our Point
Oh,
WhatsApp.
did you? Okay, well, I'll see if I can get that up on
At
screen.
this point, there's actually magma coming out of the chamber,
There's
and it's a
hole,
magma
yes.
fountain at this point in Taal volcano, and I'm not sure when that happened last time. So
Down there.
But look at that. That is just crazy. And from my point of view right now, and I'll have to look at the map of Taal volcano. I had studied it a little bit at one point, but this does not look to be coming from the main center cone, which we can actually see in the foreground of these pictures.
Well,
this is coming from a secondary spot that's a little closer to the edge of the caldera.
Well, that means that the caldera still is trying to keep the pressure where it is, and so it's sending up these adjacent smaller eruptions to release the pressure. But if there is still a whole lot of magma behind that, it's just a matter of time before the caldera itself gives ways, and then boom.
That's the thing, and that's of course, this is the thing that's
Krakatoa,
happening
east of Java.
Right, exactly. This is exactly what's happened in the Indonesian eruptions, and also when we talk about in the Mediterranean, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but the islands there that used to be a volcano, and now it's just a ring of islands, and I'll think of it here in a little bit. But this is what happens when that moisture and that water hits that lava. Well, hey, it's fire and ice, man, and fire winds, and it's just going to turn it into steam instantly, and the explosiveness of that is just going to be phenomenal.
Probably feel it here. I'm thinking about it. So that again, James Howard's one of our guys, and he believes that there's a way that you can make these predictions now about where there's going to be earthquakes, perhaps even the size of the earthquake, that kind of thing. And you can download an app that'll keep you on track on what these predictions are. But like I said, is it possible the Mayans got it right, but they were just off by a few years? Remember 2012? There was and everybody about the Mayan calendar and all of those. They even made a movie.
No, they did, but those that were studied in that whole the whole transition thing, they were always saying, no, it doesn't actually mark when it's going to change. It's just that this is when the door opens to a lot of these metaphysical changes and things that are going on. And I don't know, man. All I know is we're still here. That's all I know.
So, but maybe they got it right. They were just wrong in the interpretation of the Mayan calendars, and we find ourselves in that spot. And a couple of other things that I have not yet had a chance to talk about. A very close, very dear personal friend, Dave Sablon, reached out to me late last week and said, I need to talk to you about something involving the Catholic men of Guam. And there is going to be, concerned Catholics on Guam. And he's on the line now to brief me on a visit that we're going to get from, I hope I got the name right, Bishop Athanasius Schneider. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning and Happy New Year, Ray.
Well, Happy New Year to you. It's been a while. I was talking about you, talking about how much I missed hanging out with you at the Guard and Reserve, the nighttime, the things that we do to get together to support the people that are supporting our men and women in uniform with the EGR.
Yes, we've gone actually now to a luncheon because of budget situations from the Department of Defense. But yeah, those were great evenings when we did the employer awards. The employers that are nominated by guardsmen and reservists on the island. The nominating period is usually from October through December, the end of December. Then there's an evaluation of the nominations, with interviews that are being done, and then by June of each year we have the employer awards. So last 2 years, I think, we've gone to a luncheon, and so with the luncheon, it's just people from from the ESGR doing the emceeing for the event, and it's actually been quite good, and we saved a lot of money, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, you never got a bill from me, that's for sure, but certainly a couple of meals and I don't know, a couple of bottles of wine have always been appreciated at the end of it. Anyway, 9:17 in the morning, and let's back up before we get into the conversation about Bishop Schneider coming to Guam. A little bit more about the concerned Catholics on Guam, and you guys have certainly been very, very busy, and we were again yesterday get together with the guys from the Father Duenas class of '80 talking about gala events that we might participate in, reunion events, and donations that we'd like to make. And one of the concerns was, well, if we make a donation now anywhere into the Archdiocese, that money goes into a general fund and may instead of going to a school or a facility, may be instead going to pay off one of the debtors of the church.
That's a possibility. In fact, with the bankruptcy that the church is in now, or the archdiocese is in now, it's probable that they always have to talk to the bankruptcy judge on what they can do with their fundings, that they receive from various organizations and from people. And so in my discussions with Archbishop Burns and other clergy members, especially Father Mike and Father Richard Kidd, who is the vocations director here in Guam, I felt that it was best that we would conduct a fundraiser to benefit our seminarians and help pay for their tuitions and room and board at St. Patrick's Seminary in Menlo Park, California, as well as I think one Capuchin seminarian who is studying in the Philippines. So, we felt, CCOG felt that it probably would be best if we raise some money for the seminarians to pay for their tuition and room and board and send the money directly to the seminary colleges. And maybe enter into a memorandum of understanding or an agreement with them so that the money goes directly to pay for their tuition and room and board. And,
but bypassing the treasury at the archdiocese, where those funds might be considered fair game for the folks that are having their claims against the church adjudicated.
That's correct, and so everybody agreed that that's probably the best way. And of course, CCOG wants to make sure that we help our seminarians, and so that's kind of the plan on what we're doing. And we have a goal to raise more than $50,000 if we can. In this event, it's gonna last through the entire month of January.
I was gonna say this is a pretty aggressive schedule we got going on here.
Yeah, we have a lot of things going first of the year. We want to put everything into the wheelbarrow and start healing and revitalizing our church here in Guam with all the misery that we had to go through these past few years with Archbishop Apron abusing kids when he was a priest down in Agate and other parishes around the island, and then all these other things that have popped up over the past few years. But we're pleased that they're going through the judicial process. Unfortunately, it has bankrupted the archdiocese, but notwithstanding, we can always bounce back from that, and that's exactly what CCOG is working on. To at least take care of some of these expenses that it's going to have to face in bringing new and wiser priests to our island. We have 4 of them, by the way, in Menlo Park, and as I said earlier, 1 in the Philippines with the Capuchins. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll have 5 new priests that will be here. And Father Richard Kidd, the vocations director for the Archdiocese, also advised me that there's 1 more that's studying here in Guam, going through a discernment period to make sure that he's prepared for the priesthood when they move him to St. Patrick's Seminary in California.
You also working with the nuns over at the Sisters of Mercy and bringing some new blood there? Because it seems to me that many of them are beyond senior citizens now, and unfortunately in the last bunch of years, we've lost among our favorite nuns to that passed away. And I don't know if they're getting replaced at all.
That is something that we've talked about, but we are not quite sure how to approach assisting, vocations for the nunnery. And so we're probably, going to work once we get past this hurdle of helping our seminarians. But just to let everybody know, Ray, this is hopefully an annual project that CCOG will do to help the seminarians, because it costs like $45,000 a year per seminarian to send them to seminary college. And we need to do this. We need more priests on this island, good priests, and when we're done with this, we'll look at helping the nuns as well, because they're great teachers. I mean, you and I both were trained by these nuns,
Trained is exactly the right word. If there is a good bone in my body, it's because Sister put it there at the pain, certainly of shame. I mean, if you stepped out of line, pick a nun, any nun, you stepped out of line in her class. I mean, it was there was all kinds of corporal punishment that we were exposed to. But the other part of it was you didn't want to get shamed in the class. And there were times where sometimes Sister wasn't able to control me, so she sent me to go see Callista, Sister Callista at Cathedral Grade School. Yes, yeah.
I was earlier than you, but I was trained by the Notre Dame nuns. And, I had Sister Mary Elsa, with a name like that. She was our principal. I had to stand in the facing the wall.
Of course.
One time when I was sent to her by my homeroom teacher.
Oh, you got off easy then. You got off easy. And then the other times we know them for something else, just as being great teachers. While I'm thinking about it, I got to do a nod to Sister Mary David, who acknowledged my frisky behavior on more than one or two occasions, looked the other way, but made it so that I still got a decent handle on mathematics at St. Anthony's School. And it was a pleasure to work with her when she was teaching up at Santa Barbara for so many times. And then there was Sister Roberta, who used to run the cafeteria at Cathedral. Do you remember her at all?
Yes, I remember her. A very good friend of mine, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have the recipe for her pizza, do you? She made this great cafeteria pizza. I don't know what was in it. It's a bread at the bottom and sloppy Joe or something like that. And it was great. And I never had it before, and I've never had it since. But it's one of those things I can close my eyes. I can just about taste it, but not well enough to be able to recreate it in my kitchen.
The cookies that she would make.
But the cookies that any of them can make. There was a time where Sister Mary Inez, who was one of the originators of the Academy of Our Lady of Guam, she was brought back so that she could be recompensed at the convent until she died. So they kind of adopted her late in life, and it was great because every time we'd go pick up Sister Mary and bring her over to the house, somebody put a bag of cookies and pastries in our hand that Sister made, and it was let's do this every weekend. It was awesome. I certainly missed those times. It was wonderful.
Well, our kids and our grandkids should experience this because this was so beautiful during our growing up years. When we were young kids. Yeah, we had great interaction with the nuns and the priests.
That's what I think. We more nuns out there, we'd have less kids in trouble, if you ask me. 9:24.
I think so.
We'll get back to the schedule here. His Bishop Athanasius Schneider is going to be in town. A couple of events. One on the 18th, which is a Saturday, and then the next day. And it looks like they're about the same things. And we've got a fundraising dinner and a fundraising brunch. The 18th will be at St. Anthony and the Victor Church. The Novus Order, New Order Latin Mass. Wow, Latin Mass.
Yes.
And a Sunday vigil.
He's a Bishop Athanasius Schneider is a traditionalist. He's actually German heritage, but he was born in the old Soviet Union. He is now a bishop in Kazakhstan with the Diocese of Astana, and so he's a very famous bishop, going around the world defending the church, talking a lot about some of the distractions within the church and what we need to do to strengthen our faith, which is the theme, by the way, of our fundraising events for Saturday and Sunday this weekend, is strengthening our Catholic faith here in Guam. And Bishop Schneider is going to keynote the two dinner and brunch events on Saturday and Sunday. They'll be at the Sheraton Saturday evening after the 5 o'clock Novus Ordo Mass, which is a Latin Mass that he's going to say. Novus Ordo means the new order.
Yeah.
So the Mass that we are now experiencing in English, where the priest is facing us, Bishop Schneider will actually say that in Latin. And so CCOG is going to print pamphlets for Father Mike, who's the pastor of St. Anthony and Victor Church. And, we're going to pass it out to the congregation so they can respond to him in Latin. And
we did that for my father's Mass. When we did the memorial here for my old man, that was among his last wishes, was to have his Mass done in Latin. And I figured that was in order to at least one last time confound his children and grandchildren, because we had to make it through a Latin Mass.
Beautiful.
And they stopped doing Latin Masses before I was even born, so I had absolutely no frame of reference. But I was delighted to see that there were so many people at the friary that did and had been attending the Latin Mass with Polly Eric for as long as he's been doing them.
And also Father Richard Kidd in Maina can also say the Latin Mass. But I think what your dad's wish was probably the Tridentine Latin Mass. This is a different Mass. This is now called the Extraordinary Latin Mass, and that's going to be at 9:30 Sunday morning at the Cathedral. So Archbishop Burns, who usually says that Mass, has given it over to Bishop Schneider to say or to celebrate. And so Bishop Schneider is going to do we call it the Missa Cantata. So there'll be Latin songs that will also enhance the Mass as well. And this is the Mass, I believe, that your father is very familiar with. A lot of our seniors are very familiar with. So I cordially invite all of them to come to the 9:30 Mass on Sunday morning to listen to this Latin Mass. It's beautiful. It's very solemn. There's not too much dancing and being gay about the way.
Yeah, this is not a guitar mass. This is not an acoustic guitar mass. This is the real deal. It's very serious worship, and something. If for no other reason, you should see it once. I mean, I don't know that, and I was glad to hear that we were going to be doing a Latin mass because I'd never seen one celebrated, and of course we've all been to different versions of the Catholic masses over the years, but there is something very, very special about being in that kind of. It feels more pious. It feels more holy.
It does, and in fact, Bishop Schneider would like the congregation and the faithful to receive communion on their tongue, which is the way it used to be in the old days.
Yes,
and to actually line up, horizontal to the sanctuary, rather than lining up vertical to the sanctuary.
Down the aisle.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think in Tamuning, we have a communion rail. So we would use a communion rail where people will kneel to receive the body of Christ. And Bishop Schneider will
They used to have one at Cathedral. The Cathedral had a communion rail for years until they took that out.
When Senior James is going to figure out how to maybe put kneelers up front for the people to kneel down. If anybody has knee problems, of course, they can certainly stand to receive the communion, but to receive it on the tongue, we're asking the ladies who are going to attend the 5 o'clock mass on Saturday and, to wear veils. We're going to have some veils at the front of the church at I think the cathedral for sure.
Wow.
For those that don't have a veil, Vanjie Lujan, a member of CCOG, went and purchased some veils so that she would pass it out at that mass so that we can, give that reverence.
Yeah, for the younger ladies listening to the broadcast, you do decide whether you're younger. Check in your mom or your grandmother's dressers. Chances are there's a veil in there that nobody has touched since Archbishop Flores was still running around.
Sometimes my mom would get my dad's handkerchief and just put it over her head.
the humility, yeah, and
that can work.
Yeah. This is fascinating. Now, if you want more information, find me. I'll put you in touch with Dave. His number is 482-4647. Again, 482-4647. Tickets, you got to buy tickets for these events. Again, one of them is this coming Saturday. And then the next is Sunday. And then with the fundraising dinners and fundraising brunches that go along with that. So tickets at the Padre Pio gift shop in Agana.
Right, and of course they can call me, and I can certainly deliver the tickets to them. We have still some on sale, and but I encourage everyone to go to Mass first at Tamuning 5 o'clock. That will be the Novus Ordo Latin Mass, and then after that we can all go to dinner at the Sheraton. We have tickets for sale at the door as well for those that are late buyers, and then on Sunday I encourage everyone, because this is the traditional Latin Mass, the Extraordinary Missa Cantata. At 9:30 a.m. at the Cathedral Basilica. And then after that, we all go to brunch at the Sheraton again. So, it'll be a great event. Now, this is different from the men's conference that's also happening on Saturday all day.
Yeah.
But it coincides basically with that. So, we're going to be pretty busy this whole week.
Sure looks like it. Now, I got a note from Jose Martinez. It says Bishop Schneider is also scheduled to celebrate the Pallium Mass at 2 o'clock on the 19th with Archbishop Michael Burns. So this is all happening in cooperation and in conjunction with all of the other Catholic arrangements. So, I mean, it's just near and far, young and old. If for no other reason, the experience of the real Catholic Church, what your parents and grandparents grew up with and are more familiar with, it's time for you to get indoctrinated and maybe realign yourself with what the original church felt like.
One other thing, Ray, that
did you watch Two Popes while I got you on the line? Did you watch Two Popes yet on Netflix?
Yes, I did. Pope Benedict and Pope Francis. Yes.
What did you think?
Well, I really hope. I really thought and hoped that Pope Benedict would not resign his papacy. Pope Francis is pretty liberal, and hopefully there are enough conservative cardinals and archbishops in and around the Vatican and in the various bishops' conferences around the world to keep him focused on, the traditions and what we call the magisterium of the church, which is scripture and traditions that have been handed down from the days of Christ. So, but it was a great movie, and I think it was pretty realistic in terms of reality.
I thought it was interesting as well in the conversation about liberalization, the progressive nature of the church in this century, and how it seems to run counter to what I think some conservatives and old school Catholics think about what ought to be happening.
You know, Bishop Schneider is one of those on the other side.
Yeah.
He's a conservative. One other thing, right before we break up here. Is that Bishop Schneider wrote 3 books. One of the most current book, or the most the current book that he's written is Christus Vincit, which is Christ's triumph over the dark age. And so anyway, CCOG brought in about 100 of those books to sell at Padre Pio gift shop.
Nice.
And also we're going to be selling it that evening and at brunch. And then on Monday morning at 10 o'clock in the lobby of the Sheraton Hotel in the Point Lounge, very interesting, called the Point Lounge. He will do book signing for about an hour, 10 to 11. He's leaving that afternoon, so he's going to do the book signing. So anyone who's bought his book before or during this weekend, bring
Get
it
it
down,
signed.
any one of the 3 books, and he will sign it and autograph it for you.
And if you can't find the books, bring the Bible. 934. Dave, always a pleasure talking with you. We'll get around to talking about some other issue stuff down the road. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and help you publicize this all week.
All right. Thank you very much, Ray.
You're welcome, buddy. I'll see you soon. It's 9:34 in the morning. The radio station is the point, and we'll call that iConnect time. Swing by, Sweet Chariot iConnect, and ask them about how they can save you some money in 2020. Great plans, internet, push to talk, even mobile with iConnect.
From the start of the NFL football season, Point listeners have gotten together in friendly competition to battle it out in the Points NFL Pick'em contest. Along with weekly winners picking up great prizes, we have also awarded our grand prize winner, Art Hameister. Art correctly guessed 170 picks. Wow. Good enough for him to win a new iPhone from GTA. Congratulations, Art. Thanks to all who participated in the Points NFL Pick'em contest. Brought to you by Current Guam with special thanks to GTA.
It's 9:35. Remembering when I was a kid, I was a knight of the altar. You know what that is? That was an altar boy. That's when they were boys. You get behind, you get up there on the thing, and for me it was a red cassock with a white top that went on that, and I was not old enough. Nor was I good enough to be trusted to wear the black cassocks, and that was for the older guys. And during the Lenten times, they'd go and wear the black cassocks. I always had the red one, and that was cool. My father referred to me, I think it was Pope Raymond or something like that, Bishop Raymond from back in the day. And there might be some pictures floating around in family albums of me in the old outfit. But among the things, and it was like Catholic Boy Scouts was the way we looked at it when I was a kid, a little boy, my best buddy Rudy Duenas, and we we lined up, and as soon as we were old enough to become altar boys, we did. And so they give you the cassock, they give you everything that you need, take you through a little bit of rudimentary training, and if you pass the training, everybody passed. Then you get a Knight of the Altar pin that you could wear with pride. So it's nice. It's how you get kids' attention when in the 60s. Give them a pin. So we got that, and then they gave you a booklet. And Mom's, we might still have at Mom's house the booklet for the Knights of the Altar, and it gave you the progression. It was a little pamphlet, and it gave you the progression where you could go from altar boy clear up to Pope if you wanted to. I mean, if you really wanted to put the time and the effort and the inclination into it, you could go from an altar boy, eventually become a seminarian, and then a monsignor, and then a priest, and just the whole progression of that. And I remember thinking long and hard when I was about 9 or 10 years old how cool that might be. And for years, I was an altar server. Sometimes it would be just me. I'm sorry, I'm sitting in a warm bath of nostalgia here, remembering there were times when I didn't do the early masses. Sometimes I'd do the 5 o'clock mass, and I'd show up, and it was just me and Archbishop Felix Berto Flores. And it was just the two of us, and it was always kind of interesting because he had been for a long time a priest, and he just had the most efficient movements working as we were doing the big show, and it was always a pleasure to watch him get up there, and it was the old mass. So you do the somebody had to hold the plate and take the communion on the tongue and all of that stuff. And we'd be able to get through about a half hour's worth of mass in something short of about 20 minutes on a Saturday night at 5 o'clock. 9:37 in the morning. Hope you have a good time with that conversation. I know religion on the radio ain't for everybody, but it's Dave, and it is not as though there aren't a lot of Catholics that are listening to the broadcast. In the name of the volcano is called Popo. Is that true there, Rudy Magallanes? Knights of the Altar and the Realm of God, says Gus Castro Jasangas. And it was Gus a little bit earlier that was talking about. Now, great. Thanks for bringing it up, Ray. I was talking about my diet yesterday, and I just yesterday must have felt like an entire cheat day because I started off eating clean, right? So Sunday morning, get up and I'm thinking, okay, I need some breakfast. And I got some yogurt. I got this new kind of yogurt from over at Payless I wanted to try and some fruit. And I said, this. I'm eating clean. Look at that. And then it got to be lunchtime, and I looked in the cupboard, and I knew that I had bought myself some unclean food, i.e. chili, no beans. So I popped a can of that, made some rice, got some hot dogs going, and that's how I did lunch yesterday. And I think it's Mr. Jasangas that's saying, crap, now I'm craving that. I did actually on, was it Saturday? Was it Friday? I'm trying to remember what day was it that I got my lumpia craving taken care of. I had special lumpia delivery over at my place. Anyway, 9:39 in the morning, and that was followed by chicken and pizza, and that was followed by a little bit of sushi and some more beer over at Sakura Dining. So I am feeling literally I weigh about 185 pounds. Probably not that high, but that's what it feels like right now. So I'm looking forward to an opportunity to burn some of that off, doing at least a little bit of cardio somewhere. 20 away from, and I got a note from my friend Marlene saying, wow, sorry to hear about your injury, but is there any way that we can get on the road sometime soon and do a little bit of just casual jogging? Because it sounds like that's all I'm going to be able to do for a little bit. Nothing fast, no hard training. Just get out there and do a little bit of cardio. The answer on that one is yes. There is still time to do whatever training you need to do for 5Ks, 10Ks, even the half marathon. But frankly, if you haven't already started working on training for the full marathon, you're already behind the 8 ball.
See, it's in these instances that you should actually take up stationary biking and do walking as part of your recovery for the injury to your ankle and your foot.
Different cardio.
Yeah, but cardio's cardio.
No. Every runner in the world will disagree with you on that.
But it still helps instead of not doing any cardio at all.
Yeah.
At least you'll get some. Plus, you won't put as much stress on your foot by walking instead of running until it heals a little better. And then you can get back into doing it all within just a couple of weeks, probably.
Yeah, if I'm out for a couple of weeks, I was not to lay on it too heavy, but I had an injury that kept me off the road for 8 months. They were the worst 8 months of my adult life because, it's a family and friends and everybody's running. We get together on Sunday and they're talking about, that run we did this morning or the training we did last night. And I'm going, crap, what'd you do? Yeah, I went to the gym and put the treadmill on incline and did 3 miles like that, which is pure, unadulterated hell. But everybody said, well, at least you're getting your cardio in. But it didn't make any difference. When I finally was able to hit the road again, it's a different cardio. It was not the same as running cardio and being able to build up the endurance and the stamina to run any longer than 3 or 4 miles without stopping. You don't get that by walking on a treadmill. You don't get that by swimming. You don't get that by biking. Right. You get that by running 4 miles without stopping. Okay. So there, he says.
My muscles are bigger than yours.
Well, it's because you're like that. You mean run. I'm very slow, but right now it would take me long to get back. I just need to build my endurance. Absolutely. You need to build your endurance for work. I started riffing on this a little bit in the last hour, talking about opportunities for people that exist, and there's some really good jobs out there. Now, I define really good jobs not necessarily by the work that you need to do, because you aren't going to be doing that for a long time, depending on what company you find yourself working for. I mean, sometimes you go in and you're basically doing a rummy job. But hey, listen, if you're the guy that does the best rummy job in the world, pretty soon you get to be the supervisor of the rummies, and then pretty soon people look at you and say, you know what, I think you're doing well enough here. Maybe there's other jobs that train you for, send you to school for, and so I'm looking at some of these positions that are open. If you're interested, back page of today's Guam Daily Post. Maybe not for you, but maybe for somebody in your household that might be looking for another opportunity. Now, IP&E It's a great company to begin with, and you can't imagine some of the great benefits that you would have to have working for a company that does fuel, A, B, also does gas stations and telecom with IT&E, the partner company, and any number of other allied fields that the Delgado family has developed here on Guam and have in the Philippines. So here's the opening for an HVAC technician. Now, HVAC is something that boggles my mind, but I think once you get the basic concepts down, once you get your hands on some equipment, once you get some hands-on training, an air conditioner is an air conditioner is an air conditioner. And here's something that I know for sure. There will always be an opening on Guam for somebody that knows how to fix air conditioners, because there's 1,000,001 billion BTUs that need to be maintained on a regular basis. I mean, even at my house. I got a brand new air conditioner. I got it from the Agbayani guys over by Subway. Get the air conditioner from them, and then all of a sudden it started leaking. And now I have got a pretty good idea of how that particular air conditioner works, but I don't have the tools to be able to make the adjustments and make it stop leaking. So I called the guy. The guy shows up, and he says, I'll take care of this. And, oh, by the way, while I'm here, let me just do the maintenance on it. Which is a great thing about that company. Not making any endorsements, but I've always had good luck with them and their equipment and their people. So if you're in the market for another one, they're a good guys to go to, and they're smart enough to know that you're close enough to your warranty inspection to go able to and do the maintenance now. But I mean, the guys they get to know a thing or two about electricity and the basic plumbing to get that the dirty water out and all of those things. So if you know how to do this, dude, they're hiring over at IP. I got another one here, and this one is a maintenance and housekeeping and groundskeeper position, but it's at AK. It's a job at AK. This company has been around for 100 years. There's people that work at AK have been working there for 40 years, 50 years, I'll bet. Hey, I know they got some old school guys because I bought cars from them. There was a time virtually every car I bought in a row would come from AK. I remember Lito Argalan, and you'll recognize the name if you're Filipino. Lito Argalan has sold every Filipino on Guam at least one Toyota in all of the years that he's been around. But they've got an opening for a housekeeper and groundskeeper, and I know the people that run this company, and they start with their benefits, right? Full-time, we got paid off for jury duty, 401, they got retirement plans there, paid sick, paid holidays, great work facilities, life insurance, salary reviews on an annual basis, just any number of things. They got a great program. So if you're looking for a job, you're going to be expected to net some results for them, but there's a couple of great companies that are hiring right now. Cortec. And there's nothing that Cortec doesn't do in this town. Publishers, they got hotel facilities, they've got property management, they've got construction, obviously, and they're doing some hiring now for Bayview and Ocean View Hotel. You know where Bayview is, don't you? It's on the way down to the Westin, kind of just up from the big Viking swinging boat thing.
Okay.
All right, so you got Bayview and the Ocean View Hotel, and so here's the deal: they're looking for senior assistant front office managers, reservations assistant, and bell staff and drivers and room attendants and maintenance. Now I don't know what the salary is. They're pretty good over at Cortec, but this is one of those Korean hot pants jobs, and it's with Cortec, and if you show enough, I think. Get up and go with these guys in any of the jobs they've got here, you might be one of those guys where they target in some of the other companies. And you're doing a good job here. We think you might be able to do a good job with, working with our contractors, working with our accountants, working with our other managers. There's opportunities that are out there. And I'm wondering if we're getting to a point here on Guam with as many of these openings, and I have not seen recently as many as we have. Sanko Enterprises looking for drivers, mechanics, etc. Aqua Walk, they're looking for divers. If you got open water certification, you're one of the guys they're looking for. They're looking for people to be game room attendants. Now I've riffed on this before. I would do this. If a couple of caveats, I would do the job, but I wouldn't want to be alone because there's too many people that use game rooms as some place to go and barge into and rob. So I'd want to make sure that I good armed partner to work with me. The other thing is, as far as I'm concerned, we've seen some of the tweakers in some of the videos. These game room places are just full of characters, right? I mean, there's always somebody in there that for them, it might not be the crystal methamphetamine by itself. It might be crystal methamphetamine, and gambling, and just sit there and tweak and press the button on the machine for hours and hours and hours on end. That has got to be entertaining at some point. So it might be one of those where, I might go to the movies or I might go hang out at the game room. We'll see what happens, who's paying more.
That's what our parents thought we did when we were playing like Joust and Pac-Man and those. And
Joust, those were good games. Yeah, we're just sitting there.
It's different, yeah.
Well, and it might be the same thing, though. It might be the same. It's the dopamine hit, right?
Yeah, it is, really. Yeah,
so,
ultimately.
the dopamine from that, dopamine from whatever it is that you're tweaking on. And they say, I'm reading this thing where they're talking about social media. And so my excuse, anyway, take a look at the back page of the Guam Daily Post. There's a ton of job openings in there, and there's something that you might line up for somebody in your family. But the thing I was talking about earlier is, reading up on, there's a guy that... he's not necessarily down on social media, but he is concerned that there's a lot of people that use social media now to get those likes, to post up something that gets a lot of likes, get a lot of shares, get a lot of favorites, and that kind of thing. And that now is replacing certain other places where you'd get that dopamine hit or where you'd get some kind of high. And the fact of the matter is, with social media, depending on who you are and how many followers you have and things like that, it is possible that you might be into that dopamine hit several times a day. And I'm not going to be shy about saying it. I'm that guy. Right?
No, I am too. I mean, honestly.
I post and I'll take a look at and see how many likes I've got on my story or my post or whatever, and then come back a half hour later and see it again. How many more have I gone up on my story? I was looking at the story this morning. There are 195 people that had checked my story. By 7 o'clock this morning, it had gone up to 230. So I'm going, okay, well, that was, and take a look at the phone again. So now where is it? And the whole thing is because as the numbers go up and as I see the people that are chiming in and responding to it, you sit there and go, yeah, there's a dopamine hit there. That feels good when people pay attention to you.
Yeah, it does. I mean, for me, it works out a little differently, and I'm a little differently wired than you are. Being popular isn't really anything I care about. So when I post something, I go back not really to see who likes it, but just to see what they've said so I can respond to it. Where I get my dopamine hits on social media is perusing videos and other things that come across your news feed, and you get these. And of course, with the line of things that I like to watch, mostly around animals and good things like that. Almost all the time. It's a nice, uplifting thing. Sometimes it'll bring some tears. The neighbors will be cooking that onion Kelliquin. But either way, it gives you some sort of chemical reaction in your mind, and that's what makes social media so powerful.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not that far off from you. I mean, there was a Saturday morning where I swear to God, I must have wasted an hour and a half. I'd clicked on a video of somebody doing something, one of these Chinese acrobats or, a woman building a 2-story house with a swimming pool out of bamboo and river rocks, right? We've all watched that one. And so you go from there to the next one, and the next one, the next one, the next. And before you know it, it's an hour later. Yeah. You've watched 100 videos. Well, what did you watch? I don't remember what I watched. It just went from one thing to another to another. What languages were they in? I don't know what languages. I don't even know if they were speaking. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what they were speaking in there. And they all have the same music bed, though. That's
just about. Yeah.
You think if you know which ones I'm talking about on Facebook, they all have the same music bed behind them, which just kind of helps in the transition. You barely know when one video begins and one video ends. Who's playing around on the social media? Speaking of social media, it's another place where I get that awful dopamine hit is watching on Facebook Live, looking to see who's hanging out with it. There's Steve Reuter from Rims Advertising. He's out there wondering if I'm saying anything about one of his clients, because I think it's one of his clients with the guys from the animal welfare dudes. Gus Castro Jasangas is there. Rudy Magallanes is still hanging out with us. Troy Torres says, good morning. I just woke up. What? What is that, Troy? 9:51 in the morning, and Troy just making his way out?
Yeah, he was up really late chasing down the police.
Oh, is that what happened? Jose Martinez online, Scott Nelson, Ken Leon Guerrero, who has suggested that Dave do a fundraising for FestPack. They need somebody in charge. fundraising that knows what they are doing. Karen Otiwi is online and hanging out with us this morning. So is Debbie Canetta, Big Sister Shelley, Nate Horn. Gus is asking, does the Wave app work on Guam? Yes, the Wave app does work on Guam. Google company, by the way, I believe. And, it will work on Guam. But I don't know. It's another one of those things where, we're doing the crowdsourcing on the data, so it will know where the cars are. But the other thing about Waze is it's designed to be interactive. So what we don't have here is what we've got. If you took your Google Maps, say to San Francisco and Seattle, and there was an accident, it would not only show you the congestion associated with that accident, it would tell you the accident. And how long the delay is going to be if you continue to stay on that route. Now, Waze is designed to be interactive. So if you get Waze for your phone, Google or iPhone or whatever, its value is also in you interacting and saying that there's an accident at 8, 10, and 16, or traffic is backed up because they're doing road construction or something like that. So that's the thing. And the problem is you get in a big city, someplace like that, you're bound to have more people that want to contribute because it's a map app, social media. But I don't know that that's kind of taken off around here. So I know that the last time I was messing around with Waze, there were a couple of users out there that were contributing. But it needs to be on a real wide scale. It's still more effective to say, call the radio station and say, there's an accident at 8, 10, and 16. It's more effective to do something like that. 9:53, almost at the end of the program. Tell you, I'll be right back. And, as usual, there's a ton of stuff in the table of contents I didn't get anywhere near. We'll talk about those in a minute.
Go green, go hybrid. Go to Nanbo Insurance, and your next power bill is on us. Insure your hybrid car at Nanbo and get up to $350 towards your next power bill. That's instant savings for keeping our island clean and green. Nanbo has been providing Guam with over 50 years of reliable and affordable auto insurance. At Nanbo, it pays to go green. Terms and conditions apply. Visit nanbo.com or call 477-9754 for details.
I don't know about that. I was just trying to refresh the feed because I noticed that I've been getting a spinning circle for a while, and we are putting out top-notch numbers through our systems all the way to Facebook, YouTube, and thepoint.gu. So I know that my services are up and working, but is it possible that there's another one of those issues with Facebook? Maybe everybody else doing the same thing, marking themselves safe from the Australian fires, marking themselves safe from what is now a lava issue down at Taal, and somebody said that there is another volcano not too far off that is also popping, so you might want to take a look at that.
I'll check that out. Yeah, we were showing the pictures earlier, and I incorrectly said that the volcano and the lava plume was not coming from the main vent, but it actually is.
It is.
The vent in the foreground is actually a vent that occurred in the 1700 volcano eruptions there on Taal and has since gone dormant. So this is the active part of the volcano. The thing, it happens a lot. It's happened over the years many, many times. So hopefully this will be another kind of low scale, and really this isn't the worst that they've seen. So a 1911 eruption comes to mind of something where it was spewing rocks and boulders up into the little cities on the edge of the bigger lake, and they were really freaking out back then. So right now, we're just kind of in the initial stages. This just started yesterday, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, that we know of, this started just yesterday, but is it possible that it's connected with other activities and other events on the Ring of Fire, some that we know about, some that we don't know about? And so I'm not saying that this is it, this is the end of the world. I'm not going to say it's some kind of crazy cataclysm, because I'm not that kind of guy. Just be prepared, because we're in that ring of fire, and sometimes that manifests itself with some pretty strong jolts around here and earthquakes, fault zones, and it's all connected one way or the other. So between here and there and another couple of spots, you take a look at the Earth's crust, and it is not as solid and stable as everybody seems to think. It's they're plates that float on an ocean of magma underneath.
Yeah, and they lay over one another, and they do all sorts of weird things, butt up against each other. The only other volcano situation I see going on right now is Sabancaya, which is in Peru.
Oh.
And they're having...
but nothing else in the Philippines?
Nothing in the Philippines right now.
All right. Now, the only other volcanic activity taking place may be the push and pull on war claims. Michael St. last week on the phone with me talking about, flying back in the we got to go and figure out who it is that has raised some concerns, address those concerns, and make sure that war claims recognition bill that Michael has put in there to fix what was busted before stays in fast track. Now, I don't have an update on that. There might also be some concerns. I'm not sure how it was written that way, but it sure sounds like the administration is suggesting that there might be some gaps in the understanding of how Section 30 comes to Guam and how we might be able to use those funds to pay back the war claims. But they claim, Governor claims, Acting Governor Tenorio claims that they're in lockstep with the Treasury and that they've got all of the paperwork just about that they need to be able to set up an office around here where war claims recipients who've had their claims adjudicated might be able to go and fill out some forms and maybe get checks from the government of Guam, written against Section 30 funds that will Section 30 funds that will eventually be compensated back by the federal government and the Treasury as part of this memorandum of understanding. They're moving along those lines, and Mike St. Nicholas seems to be moving along in those lines. Now, I didn't have an opportunity earlier, so I suppose I should take it now. Because everybody in the world went to Washington D.C. over the last few days. Why? Is it nice there? Oh, I'm sure it's nice. I'm sure it's pretty. But Yuri Kim, who is Montesilva Tyron's own classmate from the Academy of Our Lady of Guam, has just become the ambassador of the United States to Albania. And there were her family was out there. And there was a picture, I think it was on Uncle Robert's website, of Uncle Robert standing with Yuri Kim behind the Guam flag and talking about how great a big deal it was that there is somebody from around here, Asian Pacific Islander, that has now elevated themselves to the point of becoming, an ambassador. And you just wonder, where that may end up going in the next couple of years. You got an ambassador. Maybe we'll go from Albania to, I don't know, UN. That'd be fun. 9:59 and change the radio station. KUSG Hagåtña 93.3 FM. That's us. Back with you on the radio tomorrow. We should have everything in sync and online. And if not, I'll find a piece of plywood and eat right through it. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. This is The Point.